Spoilers ahead. This is your one and only warning. Leave now or forever hold your peace, because we're shooting blindly in these streets. And now, a Japan Time Podcast special presentation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the much anticipated Final Fantasy VII Rebirth spoiler cast. I'm your host, Roger. Of course, I am joined by Coast, Virum, and McDareth, and today we're going to be discussing everything and anything related to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So, if you have managed to remain unspoiled up to this point, what are you doing watching this video? Leave. Come back once you've beaten the game, because we're going to spoil absolutely everything about it. And this is your warning. This is your warning. So if you're still like, okay, is there going to be another warning? 3, 2, 1, Aerith still dies. There you go. So if you were waiting and you thought there was going to be another spoiler warning, too bad. There you go. I just spoiled you. Now, with that being said, there is so much to discuss when it comes to Rebirth. Where do we even get started? Who wants to kick it off?
I think we should start at the end. And I
At
think,
the very end.
we might as well address the elephant in the room and start kind of postulating about the potential of the ending, what goes on from here, where it leads.
See, with me, I have a lot of points for the end that could like spiral into like a gigantic discussion, like in multiple facets.
That's what people want, though. I feel like people have waited a month for this anyway. I think they want us to do like a full deep dive and dive into all
I'll try to chime in with
theories.
some like little pointers that I
goodies.
have written down and see if I can get all of this in the recording, because there's a lot of stuff I've written down. But I'm down. Let's do it. Let's talk about the ending.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the ending. So obviously, Aerith still dies, but there are a couple of weird twists, right? There's some world in which Cloud saves Aerith. There's a world in which Aerith gave the holy materia to Cloud before she gets killed in the church by Sephiroth, which then activates the stuff that happens in our world. There's a world in which Zack chooses to go help Biggs and then actually ends up replicating how he dies in Crisis Core in that timeline where Biggs also still dies. And you find out that Glenn, who is that character from like that Before Crisis game or Ever Crisis or whatever, was actually Sephiroth. And that's like a whole nother extra thing too. And that's setting up stuff with Rufus, which like I guess we could dive a little bit into stuff about Rufus that other people might not know necessarily that would be important for the discussion for the third game, but also understanding this game.
I think one thing that with what you brought up is the Zack scene when it seems like he's gonna die like he does. He actually decides like he's sick of it and he's gonna take fate in his own hands, and instead of doing that, he jumps off.
Yeah.
But he still dies.
No, it's not really.
Oh, you don't think Zack in that world dies?
I think
the writers are bastards, and they're like, you don't know if he's dead.
Yeah, they're kind of leaving it open that maybe he could escape, but it's like he's like taking fate in his own hands and saying like, well, I'm not gonna do this.
I mean, Zack in general, I think in this game he's like the big wild card where he is the true thing that is not the constant anymore. I feel like, because obviously, as we mentioned, Aerith still dies in the kind of the main canon that we're following for the game, but Zack is still has the potential to be this big presence, and I think in part 3 he is going to be a huge presence in some shape or form, whether it be directly interfering with or somehow transitioning into the main canon. I don't know how they could handle it, but
that was like a little like small issue I had with Rebirth, was that I expected to get a decent amount of Zack stuff in the game, but we really didn't. If you really look at the entire course of the game, and how much time is dedicated to Zack to the rest of the actual party.
See, that's kind of funny you say that though, because I feel like coming off of Remake, I definitely thought at some point we would get Zack stuff, but when the game opened, I guess I should preface this by saying I went to a bunch of preview events for Rebirth. And so I've played through like chapter 1 and chapter 2 of this game multiple times. And at every preview event for chapter 1, that Zack scene at the beginning was not there. So when Aru and I got our review codes for the game and we started actually playing it, the embargo sheet specifically said, "Do not talk about playable Zack." And both of us were like, "What?" Because this was a week and a half before the game even came out. We're like, "What are you talking about, playable Zack?" So I turned the game on, and it starts with that sequence with him. And I was thinking at that point, like, "Oh my god, okay, we're gonna have a lot of them." But in reality, yeah, like you said, it's just sort of like the B plot throughout the course of the game. I guess the big question I have about Zack and fully understanding that ending, from my interpretation, I think Zack is in our world now. I think that scene where he's sitting in the church and he's like, "Did that actually just happen? Was I dreaming? What's going on?" I feel like that is Zack in the church in Midgar in our main Rebirth timeline. And
I
that
disagree.
I disagree too.
alongside, really?
Yeah,
So-
based on what's said, because like Zach is quoting what Sephiroth said, where Sephiroth said, "Diverging worlds can be separated again," or something like
Right.
that. So
Right.
I think he's implying that he's back where he was before, but he has hope that he can make it back there to help them.
Zach,
see, I took
Yeah,
that.
that's
insinuated
what I
that
thought.
Zach has the knowledge of these like divergent worlds and timelines now, and he specifically says a line that says something about reuniting. Like he knows that he has to go and reunite something now, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't really totally make sense if he was in the same timeline as the
The
game
main
that you're.
characters.
Yeah.
See, but I think he thinks he's in his timeline, and we'll discover in the third game that he's in ours. Because
There's definitely an explicit, this is the main timeline, this
Right.
is the Zach timeline.
right,
so
right. And
so.
that explicitness is not there in that final sequence with him, which is like the
Yeah.
one thing that's leading me to believe that maybe he is there, because we don't know what the remnants of the worlds colliding in this one like really are yet. We won't know until the third game.
That's it.
And
I
so I
like
feel like that's a
that,
good opportunity for him to potentially be there and then like work his way back to his own universe, or come to terms with the fact that like his death, much like Aerith's death, is sort of like a canon event that needs to happen, you know?
I like that they were hiding it with Stamp. That in every world, the dog, that's the breed of dog
Yes.
Stamp is
Yeah,
different.
it's
So if you're
agreed.
paying attention, you can keep seeing that you're
Yeah.
somewhere else.
So there's minimum of 5 that we see, right? Because
Yeah.
there's Stamp with the date Stamp one, our main timeline, the Biggs Cloud replicating the end of Crisis Core one, the one in which Zack chooses to go help Cloud and Aerith, and then the one in which Cloud
the one where he goes helps Cloud. I
Oh,
think
that's the date one. That's
yeah,
the
it's
date
assumed
one.
it's
You're
the
right.
first
You're
one.
right.
Yeah.
So then there's the one obviously in which Cloud saves Aerith from
So-
Sephiroth.
So
one thing
with that, Roger, I don't think that was another world. I popped off of that scene, so that's what I wanted. But I thought that was almost Sephiroth messing with him.
Yeah, because Sephiroth throughout this game has just been kind of, I don't want to quite say like bending reality to his whim, but he's just
Yeah.
been doing whatever the fuck he wants. He's been going like kind of bouncing between worlds, transferring between these bodies. And so, I think it would be very Sephiroth to instill this moment where Cloud thinks he has the ability to save Aerith, only to just snatch that away just to mess with him because he's just that strong.
The thing is, if you really pay attention, when Cloud has those moments where the static comes in and it's like that discoloration of everything and all of that, you can attribute that a lot of the times to Cloud's mental state,
For sure.
where it's like the struggle of what he actually remembers as Cloud, whereas the Mako poisoning and Zaxef and all of that. And you can also kind of compare it to a lot of the times when quote unquote time stuff happens, because I want to get to that again later on. But
Yeah, we
when
will.
when the timeline stuff happens, a lot of the times you can see like an iridescent rainbow type of visual effect on things, whether it's on a character in the background, stuff like that. So when that scene happened, with him holding Aerith and stuff like that, you see the static kind of flicker and all of that, how one point there's no blood on Aerith and he's looking at her and she's looking back at him, and then it cuts back and she's bleeding and all of that.
Yep.
I think a lot of it is really just in Cloud's head, and the third game is going to have a very huge factor of that element of Cloud.
Definitely. And actually, one quick thing I want to hop on just because Ko said it and reminded me. I saw a lot of people upset after I had played through the game and like uploaded my reactions and stuff, and I was just like reading what people thought. I saw a lot of people upset that they felt like we were robbed of the moment in which Cloud puts Aerith in the water. I fully believe the beginning of the next game is either the beginning or when Cloud gets his memory back with the scene with
they're
Tifa
gonna show that
in the original game. That's when we're gonna see the actual Aerith death. Like we'll see Sephiroth stabbing her. We'll see him putting her in the water because you have that bit with Cloud in this game, right? Where in the whole lead up to that moment, he's having these weird like blackouts, right? Like you see the people talking to him, but you don't actually know what they're saying. And so I do feel like he kind of blacked out in that moment, and it's gonna take getting through the next game and actually clearing up his head to remember
like a
what actually happened.
flashback of something.
Like
that's
the
what I think
flashback
too,
of the
yeah.
actual death scene, like what actually happened, I think is going to be.
Well, we saw
like I
the
said,
actual death scene.
Well,
we
no,
didn't.
we
don't-
skipped
don't
around.
see-
You see
Yeah.
Sephiroth pull the sword out, but you don't see him
Right.
actually stab her, and you don't see
Right.
Cloud lay her in the water. Instead, you have Cloud telling
Right.
her to wake up. And in Cloud's
Right.
mind, he still thinks she's alive.
And we also don't get any of the sequence of them actually walking through the forest. You get little bits and pieces, but he's blacked out for the most of it. And so I'm wondering if maybe kind of like how this game opened up with the Nibelheim flashback, right?
think it's
I almost feel
because-
like the beginning of the next one will
I
open up.
don't
with
think it's the
in the
beginning, because
forest.
I think what they're gonna do is I think they're gonna do that moment instead of Cloud and Tifa falling into the live stream when Cloud's like mind finally like unwinds when they fall in when ultimate weapon attacks.
Sure,
They already did that with Tifa in this game. So
Right,
I don't think they're doing that again, because even where Tifa goes is almost that exact place where she went with Cloud.
And the other thing as well, another thing as well is that, of course, right at the end, when Cloud looks up at the sky, similar to before, he sees the giant rift in the sky, but no one else does. Only he does.
Yeah, and I think that's I think the big factor for that is the amount of trauma that Cloud has experienced. Like, I think that's what, excuse me, is what is differentiating him perceiving reality and what he wants to perceive. That's why Aerith was looking back at him, because he doesn't want to accept that Aerith has died, and that it might be his fault in all of that, and he couldn't stop Sephiroth. And that's why he wants to believe she's still alive and that he actually did save her. That's why we saw the scene where he deflected Sephiroth's attack. But in reality, she did die. We saw the blood on Sephiroth's sword and all of that. We don't necessarily have to see the scene of them, putting Aerith in the lake.
No,
but
I don't think we need to, but I think it will be put there
maybe
as a way to clarify for people who aren't like us, who are like a little more casual, of showing exactly what happened and having a story reason to doing it being like Cloud coming to terms with himself.
Yeah.
Like maybe after the wheelchair Cloud like comes back, like Cloud actually becomes Cloud again, there will be like that thing, like he sees that he finally comes back to reality and like,
because there's things that we saw of Aerith's death in Remake that weren't even in this one. And so I feel like that's glimpses to things within the future. And also going back to Viram's point about Sephiroth just kind of doing whatever he wants and like messing up timelines and already like knowing all this stuff happens. And the speculation even dating back to Remake that the Sephiroth in our timeline is actually Advent Children Sephiroth, right? Going back and trying to fix things. I almost think Aerith is the same, right? That Aerith, like Sephiroth, also has known from the beginning of Remake that this was going to happen. And I think them going back to the end of Remake and changing that line of like the sky, I don't like it, from I miss it, the steel sky, was probably meant to connect all of this, much like how when Cloud sees the sky at the ending, right? It's meant to imply that Aerith, even though we don't see her point of view at the end of Remake, when she looks up, sees, the end of the world coming, essentially, the same way that
I want to jump in on that one because I think you first hear this. It's either in Under Junon. I didn't go back and re-listen to that scene, but I know she specifically says it when the first time you stay at Johnny's and when you're switching to Aerith and Tifa to go out and to Costa del Sol. She says that she had memories of what was going to happen, but the Whispers took those from her. And then her materia, she shows it to Red and says her materia, the clear materia she has, she tells her it was white, but it's a clear one now.
Right, which is why the Aerith from the other universe or whatever gives
Yeah,
the
she
white
still
one
had
to
the
Cloud
white
so they
one,
could
and she
activate
gave it to
everything,
Cloud,
right.
and then when Cloud gave it back to her, I think she remembered then and knew what she had to
So
do.
this is
I
what I
do
want to say
think
right
all
now.
all the Aeriths and all the Sephiroths definitely know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
and I
this is
think
what I
they're
want to
kind of
say
like
really quick.
puppeteering. Yeah,
Because
go
I think
ahead.
we can establish this now, then it'll make this this entire conversation maybe a little bit simpler
Sure.
if we do all agree on it. Okay.
Sure.
So I believe that there are multiple instances of each character throughout the game. Like there's Advent Children Sephiroth, there's OG FF7 Sephiroth, yada yada yada, stuff like that, right?
Right.
There's an NPC in Cosmo Canyon that
Yes.
talks about the live stream and stuff, and how it's about the live stream being not actual people, but their thoughts, their memories, hopes, and dreams, blah 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 blah.
Right.
But that they also contain those of people from other existences. So
Mhm.
I believe that it's not actually other universes or stuff like that. I think it's just the live stream as a whole drawing that energy into this current game, into this, reality and stuff like that. Because Sephiroth also talks about it a little bit after the Aerith scene, after he kills Aerith. He talks
Yes.
about like what did he say again? Something about worlds and emotions. Like it's like a combination of worlds and emotions and stuff like that.
And that immediately after that, you get the sequence with Cloud and Aerith fighting Sephiroth at the end, and Sephiroth straight up says, "Oh, I
Exactly.
really
I-
underestimated you."
Yeah.
And he's not talking about Cloud; he's
Definitely
talking about Aerith.
Aerith.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah. I don't think that it's universes per se, because there's also the scene where Sephiroth is guiding Cloud into
Right.
what's happening and stuff like that. So,
Right. I refer to them as worlds or universes, but you're right in that it's not really that, right? It's like either manipulated memory or like manipulated history or alternate histories, like alternate paths that people could have taken, right? That like
yeah,
characters, all of their dreams and their ideas of what could have happened all kind of fold into the live stream. And that when we're seeing these different flashes of sort of the what ifs of what could have happened with other characters, it's not necessarily, in total agreement with you. I don't think it's necessarily like full worlds. I think it is just alternate versions of what could have been, and how the Aerith and Sephiroth in each of those alternate versions, because they're manipulating the live stream and they're shown to be able to do that since the original OG FF7, I feel are sort of like trying to manipulate our main cast into either.
and there's
success
a
or failure.
theory
Yeah.
that I read about recently that kind of supports this, but like I want to get into that way later because it's a huge thing that like I think will be like the concept of the last game.
Yeah. Quick question, like, what do you guys think is the name of the next game? Because I threw
Reunite.
my You think it's Reunite?
Reunite.
I don't know.
There's multiple characters that
This
say
one should have been
Reunite.
Reunion. But
Yeah.
It should have
Yeah.
been, but
It
they
should
used
have
it
been
already with
Reunion.
Crisis Core.
Yeah. So I have no idea.
I'm feeling Requiem. I really am. I feel like having it be the ending of everything and like Aerith's final song, and I don't know. I feel like Requiem would make for a really good title for the final game, especially because by the point the third game comes out, people will know how the end of this one ends. So
Yeah.
it won't be as much of a spoiler.
I think Reunite would be just like poetic because Rebirth literally ends with Zack saying, like, I have to reunite things, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing that like it bothered me up to a point because like when Aerith was talking to someone, because I kept thinking about this until like way later, and I thought back on it and realized who she was talking to, and they made it obvious, which So Aerith is talking to someone in Under Junon, and then goes to the soul, and you hear a voice, and you're like, who is that? When they're talking, but obviously after Cosmo Canyon, if you went back and listened, it was Red. Red was so comfortable with Aerith, he just used his regular voice with her.
Yeah.
But so I also went and while doing post game stuff, I want to see what Red would say on the date. And Red, if you do the intimate conversation, what he tells Cloud is that he also had memories of what was going to happen, but he doesn't have them anymore. He just admits that to Cloud, that he and Aerith both had that, but they both lost it. And he just tells Cloud to protect her. And he can't remember what's supposed to happen, but he needs to protect Aerith. That's what he tells Cloud.
Obviously, is also important at the ending too, with like the only other person that recognizes that Aerith is there is Red, right? When he feels her
he
hand on his
feels her
shoulder at the
touching.
end.
Yeah.
And he doesn't see her, but he can feel her within the live stream. Yeah. God, that ending is just so good. Like when that final song kicks in, when the Loveless main theme kicks in again as she's standing there, and it's like no promises to be kept or whatever it says
Yeah,
at
at
the
the
end.
end of
Like,
this journey,
oh
yeah.
my God, dude.
I really think Loveless is
good.
gonna have like a big importance throughout this entire like. I know it was like the main like concept of reunion.
Yeah, Crisis Core.
Yeah, like that whole thing was just based around Loveless and stuff like that, but like they redid the entire Loveless play and like made it super detailed.
Yeah.
I don't think they would do that unless, I mean, there's so many things that they did in this, but I feel like there is a significance to like Loveless. And I tried going and reading through like the play like that's like canon, like cuz they have actual written
Like
stuff about
dialogues.
Loveless.
Yeah.
But I couldn't put anything together with it, so like I don't know. Maybe someone out there has an answer for it. That's just me, like maybe sitting on some Loveless stuff.
God, the music in that section is so good, though. It's just the
Yeah.
music in this entire game is
Yeah.
just incredible.
It's-
Like,
You
it's-
say that
it's
about
so
any
good.
section.
yeah, like I truly, genuinely believe this is one of, if not the greatest video game soundtrack of all time. Like, full stop, period. The level of detail in so many of even the minor songs that are in this, things that play for one side quest, like ranging from all these different types of genres.
Bow wow
Right?
wow, bow wow wow.
Bow Wow Wow song, the New Merc in Town, that one is really
Yeah,
good.
that one is
I
also
love
really good. Yeah, and the battle theme
fantastic.
is so good.
the battle themes are amazing. The Genova remixes, the fight against Sephiroth, that new other version of One Winged Angel, like the Rufus theme, how they play that one in the where you have like the
arena.
chanting of the crowd in the arena.
Yeah.
All of Roche's stuff, like the music that
Mhm.
plays during Roche's battles. It's just like one track after another that could genuinely be like an amazing thing to listen to on its own. Like Kate Sis theme. Kate Sis
I love
being
Casey.
being like a Spy Family Lupin the Third
Yeah, I
type
love it.
jazz orchestration, especially when he is sort of like the spy within the crew, is just like
Yeah,
so
it's so good.
Yeah.
Even
So good.
even liked with Kate Sith, like they kind of hint at it because everyone else has their like your relationship with them, you can see it, but Kate Sith is just a completely different icon that's always great.
Right.
So
Right.
they're like hinting that they're
Mhm.
like there's something up there.
Speaking of party members, I am very excited to really get my hands on Vincent and
Yep.
Sid.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very
Yeah.
curious how
I'm
they're
like
gonna
after
play.
that Vincent fight, which by the way also a great song,
Yes.
like
Amazing.
unbelievably good.
The way
Amazing.
that
But
was like
after
the
seeing that
perfect
play,
way
like,
to
how-
show Vincent. That was so cool.
Exactly. Like I'm like curious how
Absolutely.
they're gonna translate that to being playable because there's no way you're gonna be able to like play chaos like that at all.
I
actually
think they're
we
going
will.
to.
I think
They're-
that's going to be
they're-
like his
Oh, yeah.
limit break, essentially. I think his
Yeah.
limit breaks are all going to be chaos things.
That would be peak.
I think his limit
I
breaks
also-
are going to be
maybe
transformations.
some
Yeah,
maybe
100%.
even an ATB skill that you can only use with like 3 ATB or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are a
that's
couple
true
of
too.
yeah.
And maybe
Yeah, I
like
can
when you're
see
in
that
it, the
for sure.
ATB bar like slowly drains the timer.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely.
It
I
might
also
even be
like-
something as simple as like how Red has the vengeance modes that he gradually fills up. Might even
Yeah.
be something
Yeah, totally.
into that.
Similar to that too, right? Where then he goes into like the Galean beast mode or whatever. I also am wondering too with Vincent because they've already said straight up they are not doing DLC for this game, which
Hmm.
I fully expected some type of like Vincent intermission type thing, the same way we got Yuffie after Remake 1. But now that we're not getting that, I do kind of think the only thing left on the table in between now and then is I think they're going to remaster Dirge.
Yeah.
I know it's not a great game, but I feel like they're going to take the opportunity to do it. And I think they're going to
Well, you
re-release
can make
it.
it a great
Problem
game.
is, from what I'm told, because I barely played Dirge,
Yeah.
is that there's really not much like plot significance in that game. So if they do remake it, it would probably be like literally a remake to maybe add on some stuff that would co-align with
Which is what I think it is,
Rebirth
right? I
and
think if
stuff.
they
Yeah.
do, because like there are definitely connections to Dirge in
Yeah,
Yuffie.
Deep
DLC.
Ground is in there, and Yuffie's,
All
and then
that
even in
stuff
this, Nero shows up again.
Yeah,
Yep.
but like Nero only shows up for like 5 minutes. Like it's barely anything, and it's
Yeah,
like more of a
it's-
flashback.
But I feel like all that stuff is probably going to come into play in the third game. Also, I'm going to make this prediction right now. I feel like this is the most obvious prediction to make, but like after all the stuff with the proto relics in this game with Gilgamesh, which by the way, incredible, the Battle on the Bridge music
Yes.
in this, like 10 out of 10.
It's incredible. That was one of the coolest boss fights. Like it is actually a legitimate super boss, and like I wanted that so bad because like in Remake you only got that in the VR missions post game. That was it. There was like nothing you could do main story or before you finish the game that was like that. But Gilgamesh is that to such a huge degree.
But I was gonna say guaranteed next game's proto relic, guaranteed Knights of the Round. You're gonna be getting all
100%.
There's like not even
100%.
a question that's what it's gonna be.
There's no way they're gonna give you Knights of the Round until the very end.
Very end, right? It's gonna be like proto relic. You collect all the knights and then boom, go right into it. Yeah. But dude, that Gilgamesh stuff was just so incredible. And I think
to pivot back real quick to with regards to the soundtrack, similar to what we were saying back with regards to Remake, not only are the individual tracks of this game stellar, but the musical storytelling once again is absolutely top notch. The way that they have all these incredible arrangements of various sorts of character themes to represent the different moods, and just every single cutscene, every single moment has been very carefully thought about in this game. And the music tells such a vivid, beautiful story in and of itself.
Yeah, it all lines up really nicely with what's going on around you.
All the different variations of all the major themes too, and like you said, Viram, like how they'll adjust them for whatever the scene is calling for, and like even the goofy renditions of certain songs too that play, like all the different chocobo themes and all the different regions. I thought was always fun to listen to. The side quests were just all fantastic, like all the voiced main ones. I don't necessarily mean like all the small ones, but like all the main ones for each region, I thought were great.
Every single side quest was all voiced.
I guess that's true. They were all voiced. Yeah, I guess that is true.
Roger's got some PTSD about Endwalker.
I do. Yeah, I'm thinking about Endwalker.
Yeah, I got some opinions about sort of differing opinions. It seems from the majority about.
Then we go into it. What is?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, we talked about it when we all talked about Rebirth on the podcast, but like the abundance of mini games and side quests in the game just feels like a padding effect that still lingers from Remake.
Okay, so I want to jump in on them. I forgot to look this up in advance, but majority of these mini games were in the original. Like it's not like they just made up. Though I think the one that's new is that Gears.
Which also is the one
Gears and Gambits.
Yeah, Gears and Gambits.
I'm saying that as somebody who loves FF12. Like I love that game. I understand it's divisive. I understand why certain people don't like it, but I really like 12. So when I saw the Gambit system thing, I'm like, I'm gonna love this. And I ended up hating that mini game. That was like the bane of my existence, doing those proto relic missions. But I do agree that I feel like the majority of the mini games, from the Chocobo racing to like even Fort Condor, I thought was really fun. Queen's Blood, of course, like
oh yeah, Queen's Blood is also the new one. Yeah,
so good.
Queen's Blood is really cool.
I think, to your point, Coast, about it feeling like padding or like feeling like there's almost too much in it, I think my counter argument to that, whenever people bring that up, is, you don't have to play everything. I understand when people want to play through RPGs, there are some people that physically, when they are playing through a game, cannot not go do the side quests and have to do every little thing. I am not one of those people. I am a cutscene skipper half the time. I am not somebody who cares all that much with my video games. And so for me, if I am actually engrossed in the world and I want to do those missions, I could do as many of them as I want until I get sick of it. And then I'm like, I'm done now. I can go to the MSQ.
Yeah, but that's I think like a counter to that is like, I want to do the content in the game. I paid for the game. I want to play as much of it as I can. But when it starts to like really just feel the same after 60 hours of playing it, it's just like, oh man, like it's really just becoming a drag. It's not the biggest problem in the world, but
I also feel like this is almost like this has been a thing that's happened a lot. I feel like in the last 5 to 10 years in terms of gaming, right? Of like games having too much content or like feeling kind of repetitive.
It's not even too much content. It's literally it's not
a lot of the same stuff. Right. But I feel like the problem with that is that I think the majority of people, like all of us, obviously, we are content creators. We are playing through it to talk about it, to not be spoiled, whatever. But I think the general person who picks this up, like the majority of people that I know who are not content creators who are playing this, are like on Costa del Sol right now. Like they're, like people are taking their time with it in a way that we aren't, right? That we are just flying through it, getting through as much as possible, want to see everything, want to talk about it. And I think a lot of the time when discussing games like this, or like I think other really good examples, Tears of the Kingdom or like Breath of the Wild, right? When you've got these open world games that have a lot of stuff to do, I feel like the complaint that there is too much stuff to do and too much of it is too repetitive. I could understand it if the core few times that you do that thing, it's not interesting, right? But the majority of the stuff, from like the proto relic missions to even like finding the little well springs and stuff, I thought was actually really enjoyable, and I never minded doing it again.
I think I'm actually, so after beating the game, I think my thoughts line a bit more with Coast's, where I definitely felt kind of a sense of burnout. But again, I'm also more of a completionist when it comes to this kind of thing. I mean, this is coming from someone who like has 100% Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2, did the vast majority of stuff in 3 as well. I definitely felt like
100% Xenoblade 2. Not to cut you off.
yes, yeah, I
I'm
did.
amazed by that. You are a brave man.
Yeah, I got every single rare blade.
Wow.
I don't encourage anyone to do that. It
No,
is a waste of
no.
time. But I digress. I think the big thing with me was that, like, from a completionist perspective, a lot of it was extra layers of the mini games rather than, well, in addition to extra stuff of the core game, but like, you know, I didn't want to be doing extra rounds of the 3D boxing minigame. I didn't like it the first time. It felt horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that one, but I get that, yeah.
And just some of the minigame segments as a whole in the game were just like a touch too long. And I think the biggest offender was probably in chapter 8, where, you've got that sense of plot urgency where you're chasing down Barrett and then you get ambushed and put in prison and you're playing mini games to get out, but Barrett's still chasing after Dyne, and it's like, well, that whole chapter in particular is like probably the biggest personal pain point for me in the game, because it's the one with the most severe tonal whiplash when it comes to both gameplay and story.
I get that for sure. Yeah.
Because like not only like do you go through the whole emotional Dyne segment, immediately after, without a single break, without much of any break, you have that goofy ass Palmer boss fight where he's, I know that boss fight was
jumping
in the original.
around. Yeah,
he's jumping around in his frog mech, waving his ass at you, and it's like, we just had Barrett's big emotional moment. Why is this happening now?
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of a shame because the game, for the most part, really, really handles its tone very well. It bounces very deftly between its more serious emotional moments and its fun goofy moments. But that particular chapter was the one where I felt like it didn't do it very well.
I feel that.
I guess I
there's
kind of
some
didn't
small
mind
pacing.
it because I just kind of liked the game, because after 16 that took itself very seriously. I think almost too seriously, which I know it doesn't make sense, but I have some gripes with 16.
No, I actually think I'm aligning more on your end of the spectrum. I actually think we got a really good group.
Damn, 2v2? Yo, we gotta beat their ass, bro.
2v2 right now. I really do, because I think it's funny because I feel like overall, generally, all 4 of us loved it, right? But I feel that like the varying spectrum of like the 9 out of 10 to the 10 out of 10, right? It's like, it's all represented here. You got the 9, you got the 9.25, you got the 9.5.
I said this when I beat the game.
Yeah.
The game, objectively, if you just look at it, if you were to take away the Final Fantasy aspect of it, right?
Yes.
Objectively look at this game.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty decent game. I think it's a good game, right? I think there's a decent pacing issue with the game. But there's a lot of good points to it. If you look at it as an FF7 game, I think this is like one of the best games ever.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. That I,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
basically
I
what
definitely think the game is fantastic. Like, as I said before, for the most part, in almost every other moment, the game handles its tone incredibly well, and I
Sure.
really like. I'll never the scene in chapter 5. I think it's chapter 5 where you're on the ship
Oh
and
my
you're playing
God.
Queen's Blood,
Oh
and
man.
Red just rolls up
Yeah.
in that.
Moonwalking in.
I
Yeah.
love that
That
so
had me
much.
in
So
stitches.
good.
I haven't laughed that hard in ages. It was incredible. I loved it.
And he like
One of
couldn't
my-
cross his legs and stuff.
That was so
Yeah.
good. I think that also is a testament to I don't know when else we would bring this up, but the voice acting in this is also really
Fantastic.
good.
No, it's
Like a lot of the
incredible.
time with RPGs, I'll play with the dub because occasionally like I'll know a voice actor or something and I want to hear them in it. But this time around, I feel like I saw some people saying, "Oh, I'm playing in Japanese with the English subtitles," and I'm like, man, I kind of feel like if your native
Disservice.
tongue is English, like you're missing out a little bit because I
Yeah.
do genuinely feel like the main cast did such a good job. I think the only one that kind of didn't work for me is Tifa, and that's a
Yes.
carryover from the first game.
Yes.
I think she's the
Really?
only one where I was like, not to say she was doing a bad
There's
job.
just something
no.
off. There's like it's like
just-
uncanny
doesn't
valley
match
for
Tifa.
me.
Yeah, she sounds like an actress playing Tifa as
I-
opposed to like a voice actor playing Tifa.
No, I
and-
don't know. I don't get that.
Yeah, and I don't
Me
necessarily.
neither.
I know it's a weird like.
I know
personal
what you
opinion thing.
mean, Roger. Like, 'cause
Yeah,
that-
right?
Like, I'm in the same boat a little,
Right.
but it's just like, I think she performs like very
She
well.
does well.
It's
Yeah,
just,
of course.
I
of course.
don't think it's like, I don't view it as a Tifa voice.
Right.
Like when I see the character and I hear the voice, it's like I don't know if I match those two up together, and that's just like very just a subjective feeling.
exactly.
But I think Barrett is by far like the best
So good.
talent in this
Yeah.
game.
Also, oh my god, bro, the Red Max Middleman as Red is like
It's
incredible.
actually
incredible.
Especially if you go back and you listen to the Japanese version, which is also good. You've got like iconic Seiyu doing the voices in the Japanese dub as well. But like his switch when he switches from Red to Nanaki, Max's is like flawless. He sounds
Yeah,
so
he actually
good.
sounds like a much more like a child and carefree.
Yes.
Like, I
Yeah.
love it
Yes.
so much.
So
His-
good.
The switch to Nanaki, like, because Max Mittelman, when I think of Max Mittelman, I think of Ryuji from Persona 5.
I
That's
think
like
Saitama, bro. That's like my number one. I immediately think Saitama.
So like, for me, it was something completely different when he's doing his like his Red 13, the gruff, old like experienced veteran voice, and then when he does the Nanaki voice, it's like yeah, this is Ryuji. This is like a younger,
Right.
more vibrant sounding Ryuji.
Veer,
And
when I was
I-
streaming it, I
Mhm.
legitimately had to ask my chat, are these two different people?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Doing
so-
the voice.
the range is fantastic.
Yeah.
God, he's incredible, man. And like you said, though, Barrett, not only does he kill it in the dramatic scenes, but I also feel like Barrett, in my opinion, is like most improved over Remake. Because in Remake, I liked him, but he certainly was like not one of my favorite performances in that game. In this one, you've got like those really just anguishing moments with Dine or like when he's going through his trial with his wife. Like all of that stuff was brutal, but then also the comedy bits with Barrett where he's making fun of Yuffie or like playing something
Dude,
up, hamming it up
this
is
scene-
so good.
When you're doing the side quest, I forget what it is, but like he's talking about Marlene and he's like
Oh,
crying.
when he's
I was
crying
like-
about like one day she's gonna grow up and this
Oh,
happened.
Yes,
when,
I love
so good.
that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
isn't that the one where you're walking?
That's
Is that the
it,
one
yeah.
where you're
Wow,
walking
wow,
the
wow,
dog?
wow, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, that was great.
That one.
Oh,
I
I
loved
think-
how enthusiastic he gets when he meets the author of the children's book
author,
for Marlene.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you go out
Oh.
with Red, like we're Barrett and Red on that one, so real good. Actually, well, real fast. Speaking of those two, going back and watching someone like play through to like see another like a historian play through. It's 48 Productions. Everyone's seen them on YouTube. They do a lot of FF7 stuff. But
Have not, no.
when he's going through like the early parts and rewatching, it's very clear that Red doesn't like Barrett. And it's like kind of weird because you don't know why. Because like when they step out and Barrett's talking, he turns to Red and goes right, and Red just looks away from him. There's a couple times like that. Up until the trial where Barrett's picked to go with Red, and Red's like, really him? But then like after
Like
the trial,
they turn them into like a duo.
Yeah.
throughout the game.
No, they
Yeah.
do. They totally do.
basically like
Yeah.
after the trial on, it's very obvious that Red likes him.
Yeah.
And Barrett
True
Barrett
man
literally
and his buff.
always calls him Nanaki from then on. He doesn't say
That's
Red
why
anymore.
I love this game, because compared to the OG FF7, this gives that avenue for these characters to actually open up and blossom and
Yes.
actually develop as themselves, and not alone with just the voices, you know, being able to illustrate the characters, but the animations and all of that stuff really add on so much and lets these characters fully breathe into what they can be.
Also, you were
It's
talking about
such
the
a
stuff
strong
with
cast.
like Nanaki, and we were talking about the voice actors, and it just reminded me too. The one of the moments that like stood out to me when I was playing through, where I was like, how do I recognize that voice? Where have I heard this before? Oh my god, that's what this is. When you go to the village of the Gi, which by the way that got fleshed out in this is like 10 out of 10. That they're
Yeah.
not just like random aliens, like the way that they actually fleshed that out, and that they're cursed to exist on this planet because they can't actually enter the live stream.
Yeah.
So good. But the voice of the main Gi, Natak,
Mm-hmm.
if you go back to the original trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake at
Oh my
E3, this
God.
was like 2014, 2015, the voice actor in that trailer who's talking about the world of Final Fantasy and like who explains what's about to go down with this remake project is the voice of that Gi, which
Yeah.
I thought was such
That's
a
insane.
cool
It's really cool.
thing to bring back when you have like, because then you're taking that trailer from the perspective of these people that have been trapped on this planet and observing everything that's been going on for all these years. It's just, it's so good. So unbelievably good.
I really love, because when I look back, think about the original, I always forget the context of the black materia other than it's in, like, you know, the Temple of the
Right.
Ancients. So them doing it that way to really flesh out why this thing exists and how dangerous it is if it's in the wrong hands. It's such a cool thing.
And obviously, that's going to be so crucially important as you go into the next game, right? Because you're going to have the stuff with the black materia. Obviously, for those of you that have played the original FF7, you know, you eventually will give the black materia to the cocoon Sephiroth, and that's going to trigger everything else within that next game. I think the way they handled the black materia stuff in this one, and Cloud being sheepish and like hiding it in the Buster Sword, and that pretty much that whole last sequence in general, I just thought like melded together that plot point in a way that I think is going to come to a head in a really unique and exciting way in that third game. Like
So-
I half expect a Cloud boss fight in the next game.
So here's the thing. This will be a point we can talk about, because there is what I believe there's going to be a huge emphasis on promises in the next game, because in that final scene, you know, not only does Cloud put the black materia in the Buster Sword, and it kind of seems, you know, like a very untrusting thing to do to the rest of the group. But he makes a promise to Aerith, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Aerith makes a promise to Cloud earlier in the game. Zack makes a promise to Aerith, and they're like just constantly making promises with each other that we don't know if they'll uphold or anything like that. There's the Gi Natak promise that they made with the black materia.
And then
Yep,
Red makes
right.
another one in the
Exactly,
side
Red
quest.
makes one. And then there's the promised land that Rufus is trying to find throughout the entire course of this game. So I think there's going to be like this giant overall encompassing theme of promises, and that can lead to, you know, or not lead, but like lean on this whole despair theme that Sephiroth is going on, you know? Maybe he goes out of his way to break these promises so that Cloud falls more into despair and stuff like that, and makes it easier to control him and stuff like that. So I think there's gonna be like really mind-bending and like soul-crushing stuff in this last game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, then the message at the end of the game, no promises will be kept at Journey's End.
Exactly.
Yep. Oh man, so
They're
good.
cooking. They've been cooking for
They are
years.
cooking. I know.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of cooking for years, did you know in the OG FF7 you can see the sky thing that Cloud sees?
Yes, yes.
That's crazy.
I know. I find it so interesting too because like did you guys ever go to any of the screeners for Advent Children that happened recently?
No.
Okay, so
No.
Square basically held these in movie theater like recently, like within the last couple months in the lead up to Rebirth, these movie theater re-releases of Advent Children again. And if you went to go see the re-release in theaters, before the movie started, they had a little bit of a teaser with the director of the game and then one of the producers. And they mention in that teaser before Advent Children that the remake project is supposed to lead up to Advent Children. Like in terms of if you've ever seen the movie or you know what happens in that, the Geostigma stuff, you know, Aerith in the live stream, Zack in the live stream, the rebirth of Sephiroth, all that stuff, Cloud, Rufus, everything. Essentially, when we are done with part 3, we will be in a world that will naturally lead up to Advent Children. And that they're purposely seeding things out in this remake project that will further make that make sense. And like one of the key things that stood out to me while playing through this, which is also still on the topic of voice acting and also still on the topic of story, is the stuff with Roche, right? Where Roche essentially, like when you're fighting him in Nibelheim again, he's literally using Sephiroth's attacks.
Yeah.
Right?
You can even see the tattoo. He has SC3, so Sephiroth clone. No, wait, 4. He has Sephiroth clone 4 tattooed on his arm.
Right.
Yep.
And so obviously that then ties in with the stuff with, I forgot what their names are, but like the 3 that were also represented in Remake.
I only
but are
remember
also
like
Kadaj or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But like,
I know
So-
they mentioned that they want people to watch Advent Children because there's like they want people to have that knowledge, but I don't know if they explicitly said it's
Yeah, I
going to
don't know if it
lead
ties-
in.
I was,
'Cause
I
even-
will tell you I was at that screener with Square and with the voice actors for the game. And not only did they say it before the teaser, they explicitly said, the producer and director of this game specifically said in person at the screener to all of us that it directly ties in with Advent Children. Directly. Like that there's no ifs, ands, or anything about it. Like that this remake project will tie into Advent Children.
So like
And
that
so-
skin disease is randomly going to show
That
up. or
geostigma
whatever?
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's already being seeded here, right? Because you have the stuff with the doctor when you're in Barrett's hometown, right? You get the stuff with the doctor leading up about how he wanted to take the blood samples from the robed men. Like that is all definitely going to come back in the next game for sure.
Well, I thought that was more to try to clear their because they think it's just Mako sickness. They don't know it's like the Genova cells.
They
at
don't
that
know.
point.
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is they're setting that up in a way where the average person that would play through this game will actually run into the fact that like, oh yeah, this is leading to something else. That's not just the Mako sickness,
So
but it's actually something else entirely.
I think differently because I think where Remake sits, or because like people are saying that it more said that links in, but you were there, so I'm not going to question what you heard.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think this is like the furthest point. Like this is post Advent Children, basically, not like in where the story is, but where characters are. Because like the Sephiroth who's here, the fact he has the one wing, is Advent Children Sephiroth. So I think Advent Children happened, and then Sephiroth somehow his next gambit was to just I'll just go back and change it
Again,
all. And Aerith
Advent
followed
Children
him.
can literally be in the live stream already.
That's what I'm exactly. That's my point, right? I think maybe I misexplained myself, but that's exactly my point, right? Is that Advent Children, in my opinion, definitely already happened, right? Because of Sephiroth from the first game, and Aerith as well, like knowing these events. But I think them saying that like it led into it, or however the translation that people want to pick up from, like I said, they said ties in specifically when I was there. But however it ties in, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen afterwards. That means it could have already happened. That means things from it could be referenced
that I
in this
agree with.
project. Like, and
even,
it could also very well be, right, that by the end of the third game, Geostigma never has to happen. Right, that they could do something to clear it up once and for all. That could end up being a side quest with the doctor in the third one, and that Kadaj and the other 2 that we see as like
Should be a
bosses
thing.
in the
I can
first
see that
game
Yeah, that's what I said.
could
yeah,
be
they're
wiped from the
referencing
live
first
stream.
game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think the game is going to end the same way that OG FF7 ended. Like
With Holy and with Meteor and yeah. Well,
just
I think
just
it
the
has to.
shot of like civilization being restarted.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, they showed that twice. They showed that in this one,
Yeah.
and they showed that in the other one.
And the
So,
beginning of Advent Children, where you see, Red with his kids running around over the overgrown Midgars. The very opening of that game, of that movie. I almost said that game, but yeah. God, it's so good. And just in terms of overall like story moments, because I know we talked a little bit, like Viram, you'd mentioned chapter 8. We talked briefly about some of the other chapters, the ending of the game as well. Like, what were some standout story moments for you as you were playing through this, of just like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this, and they did this so well.
I thought Red's whole little quest, because I felt like in the original that was just a side quest. It's like, yeah, you can go do this. So what I love, they pull it in to better explain Red and who he is, and then like a neat little thing, because my main team was Tifa and Red. So after you do that quest and you do Red's level 2, he asks his dad to help him when he does his level 2 limit.
Cool.
That is cool. I didn't know that.
The one thing I didn't like about that though is that I couldn't use the Phoenix down and instantly win.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I thought about that. I used it and it said it didn't work, and I was like, what?
Yeah, you're like, what is this? Come on.
For me, I would say Kate Sith is my highlight. Although, I think his little side quest thing was absolutely horrid. It was just a very slow experience, and I don't think it was really necessary. I understand wanting to have a section for your new character, but
Yeah, his was the box throwing was kind of annoying.
You mean, throwing the crates around? Yeah.
Yeah. That little mini game, you have to do it for Johnny's hotel. And I had an inkling when I was there, so I kept reloading until I finally got it. That was annoying.
Do you guys know about the Kate Sith fortune telling thing? The scene in the
yes.
the Ghost Mansion?
That was the thing that got me, because it's like I really wanted, because the first one he tells you is like, oh, like the future's not set, something like that. Like you have an ability to make a twist.
The first thing he says is things are looking up, so throw caution to the wind. Which literally, like, things are looking up, look to the sky. It's the timeline, the crack in the sky.
Yep.
The second thing he says is, put your trust in others, and a last-minute twist may pleasantly surprise you.
Yeah,
which
I wanted
would be
that
Zach
for
and
this.
Aerith showing up.
Sure.
And then the next one is watch your belongings, lucky color black, which is literally
Watch your belongings too.
Yeah. And then the last thing he gets is seek and you are sure to find, but alas, you shall forever lose what you cherish most.
And that's Aerith, obviously.
And I think that one is from the original, if I remember correctly. Because I think in the original he does something almost identical to that.
Yeah. God, that also, while we're on the topic of Kate Sith too, dude, the golden saucer is just like amazing. Like probably one of the prettiest sections in any game I've ever played. Like walking through that with all the lights, like how they actually really make it feel like a Disneyland type area. Like the different renditions of all the music, the little chocobo music, the gold saucer music that plays, like how it sounds like the Electric Light Parade from Disneyland is just perfect.
Even like when the character themes on the dates, because I heard
Tifa's,
Yuffie's, and Red's, and all of them are so good.
So good.
I'm still so mad I didn't get Tifa on my playthrough. I was trying so hard. Like I was actively looking out to get Tifa, and I got Aerith by like one or 2 points. I was off. I
was purposely trying to get Aerith. So I
got Tifa on the first one and Aerith on the second one.
I got Tifa on both. Well, for me, I always had Tifa in the party. Selections came up with Tifa. Like, I like that one of the big points is the Costa del Sol fight, where it's Aerith and Barrett or Tifa and Red.
Right.
That one helps a lot to make sure you don't get one or the other based on who you pick there.
That was specifically why I chose Aerith there, so that I could go on the date with her. Because the first date, the first one doesn't necessarily lock you in, right? Like
no, the first one doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, the swimsuits too.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the moments that I actually really enjoyed was the funnily enough, the Junon March. I found that was a real fun moment.
That was fun.
And I think
one of my top 3.
Yeah, I think just as like, particularly as like a characterization moment for Cloud, because obviously like Cloud is not like, he's not a band leader, right? But he's trying his best to rally up these troops, and then it gets to the point where he's doing his speech, he's getting really into it. You can see that kind of inner teenager coming out, and he's having a great time, and the girls have to actually kind of reel him in for a bit.
Yeah.
But just that whole segment, there's a lot of charm as well. Like, you go down to the secret bald head bar with Reno.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Yep.
There's what else? The bar upstairs where you see Elena drinking her woes, even though she's like 18 or something.
Just the 50 people that follow you once you recruit everyone is extremely funny.
So
And
good.
they comment
I
on
just-
things you go into, like you come out of the inn. It's like, hope you had a good rest, sir.
I just like, I like how that section was one of the sections that really kind of humanized the Shinra soldiers, because up until this point, a lot of them are just kind of faceless goons that you're just kind of cutting down, but it made it very much feel like, Shinra aren't just the bad guys. There are clearly people that are just trying to, make a living, live their lives, just trying to do what they can.
I realized that with my guy Kunsel from Crisis Core, which I'm still waiting for him to show up in some capacity in these games. I don't know where he is. That's my day one.
Speaking of Crisis Core, though, like when you get to Gongaga and you see Cisne and like all of that stuff gets fleshed out as well, I thought like the Gongaga segment, I'd say in terms of actual like minute to minute gameplay, that was probably my least favorite portion, just because of the verticality of the area
I
itself.
actually love that.
But all the other stuff that happens in it, like where you're in the old reactor and you have the fight with Scarlet and you're fighting all those other.
Wicked.
Incredible, man. Like so good. And the moment, of course, with Tifa and with Cloud going nuts. The lighting engine that's used there, like how good everything looks.
I
it's
have
just-
opinions about the lighting, but
I don't like the lighting. I brought that up for a reason because I remember you mentioning that on Japan Time.
yeah.
The flashbangs.
It's a little too bright and a little too dark a lot of the time, but specifically in that moment in Gongaga, in that reactor, the lighting engine was perfect. That one area.
I didn't expect the weapons to be introduced so like early on.
Yeah, but it's
That
like
too, yeah,
it's cool that they introduce them, but it seems like there's all versions of Sapphire or like lesser weapons almost. But I do like that they're linked in more because the planet's already in danger, especially because Sephiroth is already manipulating stuff. So it's cool that the weapons got pushed forward. The planet's already trying to do something before like Meteor gets summoned.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
I'm trying to think of any other sections that
I was gonna say I liked the way they set up the whole Tifa Cloud thing. So Sephiroth messing with Cloud and making him think, well, I killed her. You saw me kill her. This is like the whole time they're building up this. So instead, because like they do it instead of Cloud attacking Aerith at the Temple of the Ancients, he just chases after her. Sephiroth gets him to attack Tifa. But even during that section when he's like killing the soldiers, he actually even holds the sword the Buster Sword the way Sephiroth does. So it's like really solidify how much control Sephiroth has.
On the topic of that too, one thing I will say in relation to like the end portion of the game and Sephiroth and Cloud and everything that happened there is I did find that like that final sequence in which you're like holding down the buttons as you're about to like slam the sword down right before you quote unquote save her was also so well done with all the different whispers floating around you and like throughout the course of the game. It was funny because like I sort of made a meme when I was streaming it of like how once you get to L2 R2 something big is about to go down, right? There's always either him like crawling in the fire or like twisting open the doors or something. Like L2 R2 is that's it. And so when you get to that last bit with L2 and R2 and he's about to stop the sword, it was just absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
I like
really,
in those
really great
moments
stuff.
that the PS5, the DualSense controller, does the whole haptic feedback thing.
Yes,
where it gives
yes.
the extra tension to the triggers.
I absolutely
turned it
love
off.
that.
So good.
Turn it off.
I turned it
I
off.
love that feeling.
You turned it off? I loved
I'm
it
not
too.
a
That
big
and the
fan
rumble.
I'm not a big fan of haptic feedback in all honesty, so
Nah, I feel that.
can we talk about Tifa for a second?
Yeah.
Do y'all not trust her?
Why
Not
would I
trust her.
not
Why would
trust
we
her?
trust
She gave me very odd vibes throughout the entire game.
Well, I think the point of her being that way is because she knows Cloud since the beginning. The flashback Cloud note said she knows it's wrong. So the whole time,
so why isn't Tifa correcting her at all, or correcting Cloud at all? Like that's Like, why would you
Because
not say
she doesn't do
anything?
it till later. Like, I mean, she does. She tells Aerith almost right after. Right after she tells Aerith that's not what happened, but she only tells Aerith. But even that didn't happen before.
Like, why would you not tell Cloud? Is what I'm saying. Like,
she doesn't. She doesn't tell because she wants to believe in him. She wants to believe that the person she missed is there, so she doesn't correct him about what she sees as wrong. Even so I agree with you on a different point. When Cloud is like obviously going nuts, and it's like very clear because the party members like there's a time when you're in the Temple of the Ancients,
literally killing people.
Yeah.
And like Barrett and Tifa are like watching him like, why aren't you guys stopping him there? But then then they switch over to Yuffie, Aerith, and Red. And Red says, like, they're all talking about the other group. Do you think they'll be okay? And like, yeah, they'll be fine. Red says, oh yeah, they'll be good as long as Cloud doesn't lose it again. And Barrett says that too at some point. Like the whole party gets something's up with Cloud.
That's your answer though, right? Your answer is that like I think they all realize, dude, Cloud will kill us, so we're not gonna try to mess with it. Like, it's
even funny because one more thing, like on their way to when they're trying to chase after Aerith in the forest, when everyone talks to Cloud, when Tifa talks to him, Tifa straight up says, "Hey, if you're feeling weird or thinking strange thoughts, promise me you'll say something."
Right.
There's a promise there, by the way. Remember, guys.
Yeah, and he'll break it.
Break
it.
And he already has because he doesn't say anything.
Exactly.
Again, I think that aspect of it is definitely going to come.
That
into play
relationship is so weird.
Yeah, it always has been though. I mean, it's like
I don't know. I never viewed it like that in OG. Like I mean, like apparently I never viewed it as this way, but apparently they have sex in the third game.
Yeah,
like,
of course they will. Yeah, under the tiny Bronco. Yeah,
like I never took it as that.
Though. Oh yeah, because you probably played it as a little kid and you didn't understand what was happening.
No, I played this game for the first time 4 months ago, Roger.
Wait, wait, hold on, wait, time out. What has that been like then? Having played through and like knowing what happens and playing it so recently, like. I'm fascinated that you actually played through the original thing 4 months ago.
It's more at a like analytical level and critical level of things.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this section was fun in OG. Let's see how it compares in Remake.
Got it.
Oh, it was really shit in Remake. Okay, yada yada yada. I like this. Like it's kind of like a continuous back and forth of what it is. But overall, like having never played FF7 and finally playing it for the first time, this is like an amazing game. Absolutely incredible.
It's so fun. Yeah, it holds up really well.
Like,
yeah.
There's some parts of the OG game that don't age as well, but for majority of it, like really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a classic for a reason. That's why they're remaking it. But yeah, I have always kind of felt that way about the Cloud Tifa relationship though.
So does that mean that I'm the only one of this four that hasn't played the original at all?
I've never finished the original.
No, I mean, I've played the whole original. It's been years, but I've played through the whole thing.
Okay.
I think the most recent time I played through it was actually 2020. Because didn't they put it on Switch like the end of 2019 or something? It was like
they released it in I think it was a little bit earlier. Or it might have been in 2020.
I think it was holiday like
they released it with
2019.
7, 8, and 9.
Right. And then I played it again. I had played it like years ago in college, and then I played it again on Switch in the lead up to or right after Remake. I don't remember which, but I mean, I've played it recently, but not within the last 3-4 years, Well, I guess it would have been 4 years. So within 4 years, I played it.
Yeah, but the only FF7 media I've otherwise like fully experienced was Advent Children.
Wow.
And I watched that years and years ago, and I remember not liking it at all.
You watched Advent Children with no recollection of the original game. You hadn't played the original game. You just decided I'm going to watch this. Wow.
Dude, I watched Advent Children I watched Advent Children after beating Crisis Core because I was told to, because it's vital for whatever, so-and-so.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible movie, dude. Oh my
dude. Yeah. All the flip phones that they use with the product placement and
what was Barrett wearing, man? What the fuck did he have
the
on?
mesh shirt.
Oh my
goodness.
Shirt
and the dress, yeah. Oh
and
man.
the twins or the triplets? Oh, don't get me started, man.
Oh, there's something I wanted to ask what you guys think of this, because I thought about this immediately when I saw Roche had SC4, so Sephiroth Clone 4. So clones 1 and 2 are Cloud and Zack. Because that's what Hojo does. He experiments on them, puts in S cells. Who is clone 3?
I would assume that was Kadaj, right? Wasn't that
No,
Kadaj?
Kadaj is after.
I believe.
Oh, you're right.
3 is. Oh, what's his name? Hold on, I'll find it.
The dude from Crisis Core, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know totally who you're thinking of too. Hold on, wait. Yeah, I know totally who you're thinking of. Give me a
Genesis?
second. No, hold on. I know exactly.
No, because Genesis gets Ungeo cells.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I just know those names.
Yeah, who is
important characters in Crisis Core?
Oh, what is his name? This is gonna bother me. Oh,
I mean, would Glenn maybe be one?
interesting. It says here, I'm looking on the Final Fantasy wiki in regards to the Sephiroth clones. There has never been a confirmation specifically of SE3. There has never been.
Yeah, someone in my chat. The scientist. You guys remember the scientist?
Wait, the scientist from Crisis Core?
No, I thought that was.
That's not who I was thinking
I thought
of.
that was
I was thinking
Genesis
of the
cells
scientist.
again.
I was thinking of the dude like in the beginning that's in Wutai.
Because they don't take Sephiroth cells until after the Nibelheim incident, but all the stuff with the scientists and all that stuff happened before that.
That's true. That's
yeah,
true.
you're right.
Hollander. Yeah, Hollander is what I was thinking of. Yeah. But yeah, Hollander wouldn't have. Wait. Yeah, Hollander wouldn't have S cells.
And like the fact they specifically show you he has SC4, I think they're going to pull out someone who is the third clone in the next.
I mean, they very well might,
what if
considering
it
the fact
is
they had Roche.
Glenn?
Yeah.
What if it was? Wait, no, Glenn.
Could have been Glenn. No, it could have been.
I think he was already dead. I thought the whole point of him was Sephiroth was using just a black robe person to look like him to manipulate Rufus.
That's pretty much what it was.
No, but there's a hold on. Not Glenn in this game, Glenn, but there is a Glenn in Remake. That's
I have no idea who that is.
part of Shinra. That could be. I'm looking up the list of all the people that are known Sephiroth clones, and it says Marco, Cloud Strife, Zack Fair, Glenn Reiner, Getty Bach, Broden, Roche, Dale, and Lalisa Meg.
I have no idea who half those people are.
Oh, I don't know who half those people are either.
It could be Broden. Broden was the innkeeper. Broden was the innkeeper who used an ex-soldier.
Oh, yeah, that's who I was thinking of too.
Oh shit! Yeah, he could be three, actually.
It could be him.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't think we ever see his number.
Okay, here we go. Here's wild theory. You never
because we see.
Listen.
Yeah.
You never see Tifa Scar in this game. What if Tifa Scar is SC3?
I don't think it's.
You see,
he always tattoos people's arms, and her arms are always out.
Yeah,
but maybe they could mix it up. But I don't know.
That would be funny. That would be so funny.
The stuff with Broden, the innkeeper guy, that is crazy because you do see him as a robed man later on.
No,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you can see his shoulder at one point though, and I don't think you see.
If we do, I definitely don't remember if he had a number or not.
You're thinking of him rolling up his cuffs, but you don't actually see his shoulder.
No. Like when he's in a robe, he's like walking.
Yeah.
I think you see his arm.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The number I think is I'm looking at a screenshot. I think the number for him is 6.
6. Okay.
Okay, so I don't think it's him then.
This game is just so good still. The fact that we're like
I'm
theorizing.
surprised they didn't give him 7, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god, there's 7 everything in this damn game, dude.
Oh man.
Because I think it's the clear materia Cloud now has. Like, what's the purpose of that? Because they go out of their way to show you in that final fully rendered sequence he still has it. So something has to happen with that.
I assumed the clear materia became the black materia.
No. Because he puts the clear one away and then pulls out the black one.
Yeah. People think that like the clear one turns into the black one when it magically like that doesn't make sense at all to me.
No, I think Sephiroth just put the black one on his person.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Because Sephiroth still needs Cloud to bring it to him.
Sephiroth needs Cloud to exist.
Well, of course.
Honestly.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, if you don't deliver the black materia, he's stuck in that cocoon, so he can never be his full form, right?
I think the clear materia is like some like direct path into the live stream. Like it's gonna be like a device to let them communicate with Zach or something in the live stream.
Interesting. I mean, I'd be cool with that.
Or yeah, maybe that's the way Zach can show up and help them.
Like because that's
Yeah.
like the only really like tangible way I can think of them having some way to communicate with him.
My other thing, right, is because I was thinking about it, it's like, oh, maybe they will save Aerith, because with Aerith in the party, you have 9 party members. And I was thinking about this obviously before the end, when they just did Bizarro anyway. With Bizarro Sephiroth, if you have the full party, he separates your party out and you each have to story apart, like they do with the Genova life taker or life bringer.
We already fought. That is Bizarro Sephiroth.
Oh yeah, I know. But I think they're going to do something like that again, because like that was like a. Because I was thinking about that, because this was just me thinking this before I saw the end of the game. Because if Aerith lives, with Sid and Vincent, you now have 9 party members. Because like even the arena battle is 2 teams of 3, so you use 6. So 1 is left out. But if you had everyone, you could do 3 teams of 3 and fights like that and have a full team of 9. So if Zach eventually comes over, that you could actually just have Zach take that place and have 9 that way.
Of course.
I hope he does, because he's like, even the brief points where we got to play him, he's really fun.
Yeah, he's such a cool combat
like
style.
building up the multiplayer with the combos and stuff. Yeah, he's great.
Well,
I feel like he's going to. I mean, like all of these, right? With the first game, you had Tifa and Barrett and Aerith. This game, you have Yuffie and Red and Kate. And the next one will be Vincent and Sid and Zach. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Zach would be that, like, not filler, but
that's kind of why I feel like he will end up. Oh, there you go. There you go. Viram
yeah,
just.
there we go.
posted
I
the
remember
image
you
of
see his
Broden
number.
being
Yes.
6. Right. That's right. Yeah, I feel like he'll most definitely be playable in the next one. I'm just like so interested to see how they're gonna handle the next one with like the flying tiny Bronco and everything, and where they're gonna start it. Because like obviously there's some really cool stuff still coming up. You've got the ghost ship, the underwater reactor. You've got Rocket Town with Sid. You've got the Great Glacier.
So here's my question with all those.
Yeah.
Where are they in relation to? Because like I said, I've mostly watched a lot of the end of that original FF7 because I haven't played through it myself, because as a little kid, I sucked at defeating the spider tank. Anyway,
you just beat the game recently, Coast. I'm pretty sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the next thing is either
they go
the
north
or
to
Rocket Town.
Yeah, no, they go north to the glacier end.
Glacier. There you go. Which is like the snowboarding and all that stuff too.
Yeah. And then they leave and they go to it would technically be Rocket Town and then the forest.
Right.
And then you got to go back to, or it's
you go back to Midgar at one point. Well, you go back to Junon at one point too.
Well, the Midgar isn't okay. So I was wondering, because the Junon and Midgar returns, aren't those after Meteor summoned? Because I was trying to figure out like how soon into the next one are they gonna just do Northern Crater? Cloud gives over the black materia, and then from then on you get.
I think that'll
Cloud.
be like a pretty like right in the middle of the game, because we still also haven't done Wutai
at all.
Oh yeah, sure, Wutai.
And Wutai is going to be super duper fleshed out. You're going to have like
entire
Crisis Core stuff in this. You're going to have the stuff with Yuffie's intermission stuff carrying over.
Oh, okay. So one thing I wanted to ask for people who maybe know this, because in Yuffie's like heart to heart and the date, she mentioned she met a soldier in the past that she liked, and she was training to beat him, but she doesn't.
That's Zach.
Okay, it is Zach. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like,
in the very
like,
beginning,
is this Zach? It's like, okay, it is.
Yeah, in the very beginning of Crisis Core, you're in Wutai with Zach on this mission, and you fight these 2 giant things in like a circus tent. And right after that scene, you run into Yuffie as a little kid, and that's
okay.
So the lore is you find treasure, and Yuffie steals it before your eyes.
Yep.
Because she wants to get materia and stuff like that, right? Blah blah blah. She then gets access to your email, and she like spams like emails to you, but she addresses them to like every like Shinra employee. But Zach's technically the only one that replies to it. So she then like assumes Zach as her rival and stuff like that, and it's like it's kind of cool. But yeah, that's who she's referencing.
Okay.
And I definitely
thought
feel like
that was
we're going to
but
get
like
more.
I wasn't sure because I didn't.
I feel like when we get to the what's it called? When we get to the stuff with the Wutai, I feel like a lot of the stuff with Sonon is going to be fleshed out too. Like
Yeah.
from Yuffie in the intermission, and I think they're probably going to try tying in Genesis stuff with that too, considering the stuff with, like Nero and all, because that is, I think, where they converge, right? Because like you get the stuff from Dirge
Roger, I
in
think
intermission.
at this point, if we have seen no evidence of all of Genesis and Angeal, I don't think we're gonna get it in the third game at all.
But we
because
did
this
in intermission. We
What?
literally do in intermission. That's like the whole big thing. That's how Sonon dies.
No,
is
no,
what's
no.
his face in the-
That's yeah, but okay. You're thinking of, like, so Genesis and Geo are only in Crisis Core. You're thinking of Dirge
Yeah.
of Cerberus. That's Nero.
Oh,
and
I am.
Nero.
You're right.
the
You're
other
right.
person.
Nero and Weiss.
Yeah,
That's-
Weiss.
Weiss.
Uh,
That's who I'm thinking of. Thank you.
Yeah, Genesis and Angeal would have shown up the moment like Cloud, like in Sephiroth fight in the
Yes.
reactor.
Yeah, I was mistaken.
Like
You're
I
right.
would have
Yeah, that's
assumed
totally
something
right.
would have happened there if we were to get something there, but we won't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Weiss and Nero and Sonon and stuff like that will happen in Wutai, and I think we're gonna get a bigger picture of more so of the war that just started between Rufus and or sorry, not Rufus, Shinra and Wutai.
Yeah.
I like the reveal too that Sephiroth is like setting up this war just to keep him busy, so he doesn't interfere.
Yeah.
Because if they could figure out, if they knew Sephiroth was a threat, could figure out where he is, they could just fire the cannon well before he ever gets the black materia and just end this.
But yeah, after Rebirth, it would be like you got Icicle Inn, you got Wutai, you have Rocket Town,
Rocket Town. The underwater reactor with the ghost ship.
Yes, you have that. You would, I guess, there might be
Isn't
some.
that when you get the submarine? I thought that was. Oh yeah, I guess you just go back because I remember Emerald Weapon was down there.
You go back to Midgar for a little bit.
You have the weapons. You have Mediel, and the crater.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much
Yeah,
everything.
most of it. Yeah.
But then again, they'll probably tie in stuff with Zack and other characters. Maybe like I'm pretty sure we're gonna be seeing a lot of Aerith again in this last game.
Well, I kind of think Aerith, in the alternate history in which she saved, or whatever you want to call that, will be the interims in the next one.
I don't think she's saved.
I also don't think she's saved, but I think
Aerith died.
Aerith,
and
right?
She lives through the live stream and is able to apparate herself. That's why Sephiroth is so afraid of her, because Aerith can never fucking die.
But what I mean is that whatever path that is, right? I'm not saying she's alive, but what I'm saying is like whatever path that is, that alternate history or whatever, where
none.
No, there is for sure. Like there's
Aerith at this point can be in any timeline, whatever.
Of course, because she's in the live stream. But that's my point, is that I think we are going to get moments similar to how we got this stuff with Zack, whereas the majority of the Zack stuff in this one took place on one quote unquote timeline, history, or whatever within the live stream. I think we're going to get stuff in the next one with Aerith, basically instead of Zack, where we have these little like intermission type things where she's going through and seeing and manipulating the live stream and touching on other people's stories.
Would take away a lot from.
I feel like they're gonna do that through Zack, because I think it's pretty. They try to make it pretty apparent that Zack being able to interfere was Aerith's doing.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah. So I think she's gonna be able to try to help Zack find his way to them to help them.
Yeah. Also, I'm seeing someone in your chat ask if the next game is going to be next gen or this gen. I still think it's going to be for both.
It's going to be both.
I think it's both, because I think this comes out in 2027 alongside. In fact, I'm going to make a prediction right now. I think the release date for Final Fantasy Remake Part 3 is going to be July 7th, 2027. And we're going to get 777. The marketing is too good. It's the 30th anniversary of Final Fantasy 7. There's too much stuff they can do with it.
Yep.
I'm marking it down now, 7/7/2027. That's when this comes out.
I agree.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Yeah. Because they're already planning other stuff for the 30th anniversary, albeit like other projects,
I assume
like movies
symphony,
or games or symphonies, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Re-releases, all of that.
Already got my ticket booked for the Rebirth Symphony.
I can't wait. When do those start, actually?
I think, the London one, I think, is in September.
I think it's October.
Man. October, yeah.
I'm so excited for those. I'm sure they're going to be incredible. I'm honestly just excited to hear some of this stuff at the Game Awards this year too. You know they're gonna have like a bunch of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth
yeah.
stuff at the Game Awards concert.
Game of the year, 100%.
Oh,
Yeah,
easily.
it
Yeah,
should
without a
qualify
question
for
of doubt.
that. It should win best soundtrack easy. Like,
Easily. Yeah. Okay. So actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Coast, because I also feel very strongly after having played this that there is probably nothing that can beat this for Game of the Year.
Nope.
I cannot think of a single thing that's even going to come close.
yeah. Like
I really have no idea.
I'm still excited for Dragon's Dogma 2 now that I finally finished Rebirth. I can start it, but yeah, I don't see that game beating this. This game was,
Unless like fucking Chrono Trigger remake Shadow dropped in October, like it's
I
not
don't
happening.
I don't even see a world in which, like, if Prime 4 is the holiday game for Nintendo, I can't even see a world in which Prime 4 could beat it. Yeah. I just don't.
like I think Remake, because Remake took my favorite Final Fantasy game because I thought it was really good. Rebirth,
Remake?
obviously, before, yeah.
Remake was your favorite Final Fantasy when it dropped.
Yeah, because I enjoyed it, so I put it.
I don't let him bully you. I agree with you, McDareth. It was also my favorite Final Fantasy game. What? I understand the pacing was messed up, but I also think I have a lot of nostalgia for it because of when it came out. Like, I played it during COVID where we literally weren't doing anything else. And so, like, I was streaming Final Fantasy and playing Animal Crossing, and that was my life for like 2 months.
It's just
And
the presentation,
I
everything around it. Like, I get the
presentation was
issues, but like
amazing.
the music
For
is
sure.
amazing. The combat,
For sure.
it was good, and I felt it was good in that game. This game crushes, obviously, but
Yes.
I felt it was
Yeah.
decent in the choices I could make. So like, I enjoyed it overall. Seeing the story
Yeah, no,
again, these characters fleshed out, like.
I'm right there with you. I feel like there are obviously other Final Fantasies that if they stand by themselves, if you're just allowed to do like one number game, I would say 6 is my overall favorite. Like, I love Final Fantasy.
It was 4
6.
for me before this,
But-
before Remake. It was Final Fantasy.
But I mean,
4.
yeah, in terms of any Final Fantasy thing, period, Rebirth is my favorite
I'll
Final
get
Fantasy
on
thing,
Remake one day, guys.
without a doubt. Not Remake. I said Rebirth is my
Yeah.
overall favorite.
Yeah,
Like,
Rebirth is definitely
all-
my favorite. Like, Rebirth is not my
Yeah.
favorite RPG. Period. Like, I think this game is. I think it's so good. There's like a couple gripes I have if we want to talk a little bit about gameplay stuff, which I think the next
go
one
for it.
will
Please,
probably
let's
address
talk about
this.
it.
So from Remake to this one, they got rid of parry and deadly dodge, and just every character has those because it just makes combat feel better than having to assign 2 materia to do those things. In this game, I think auto weapon ability should just be. Everyone should just have that. Even if like one materia slot for that, but they at least give you 7, so you can slot them if you want to. And it's nice because then you can assign people to like, oh, if Cloud has 2 pips and you give him infinite end, he'll only use it. Like, the game is smart enough to know only use this when they're staggered. Then use this. And if you give them buffs, they'll cast the buff if it's down, but they won't just spam it. Like, it's pretty smart. Like, they code it really well. Auto unique needs to be either you need 7 materia of it, or it needs to be just on everyone. Because it's kind of unfortunate because like. Oh, you can go.
Because there are some characters like Tifa, for instance.
Yes,
Tifa
she
needs
has
that.
to
She
have
has
that.
to. She has to be charging her unbridled strength
Unbridled
all the
strength, yeah.
time.
Yeah, constantly.
And then like Barrett, you want him to be firing his overcharge because that's a huge segment of damage for him, and he wants to be able to cycle that constantly. Stuff like
overcharge and recharging, because he just won't do it if you don't have it.
that.
It's like Kate Sith won't buff you. Well, that's a whole part of it. He won't buff you or debuff the enemy. That's a whole part of his mechanic. Yuffie won't throw her kunai and start doing ranged attacks if you don't have it. Aerith is kind of the one that's kind of out there because she just teleports back, so you can kind of skip it on Aerith. Red won't use vengeance.
Aerith, you could just do auto cast meteor and just destroy everything.
So that's
I'm
so
glad
what
Meteor
I did.
did.
What I did is I put Meteor on Red with Synergy, and every time I thought, oh, if I cast a spell, cast Meteor. No, any offensive ATB, he just casts Meteor.
Yeah, I did that. With Kate Sith, and a comet was just going off every second.
Oh
It was
my
so
god,
funny.
that's
It's
awesome.
so cool.
The one thing is like the materia mechanic in this
Bubbles
game I
MP.
really love, because there's so many like different variations of things you can do, and so many people will say, oh no, so and so is like the best character because of this, and another person will be like, oh no, it's this because of this, right? Like, I praise Barrett because he can stagger an enemy in the snap of a finger. Like,
Yeah, I love
it's
it.
crazy. But Aerith is really good. Red 13 has Red 13 got buffed, or sorry, he got nerfed with a patch because
He
they
was too
just
good.
decided to nerf him.
Yeah.
But I do think the synergy system is slightly lacking
Mm.
because literally half of the synergies you get from the what do they call it? Not the skill tree, but there's
The
name
folios.
for it.
Folios.
The folios, yeah. Half of them are just, here's an extra ATB gauge. Where it's like, okay, I would like to see, these cool animations.
Yeah, more
and
offensive
attacks,
ones.
right? But I understand, like, the extra ATB gauge gives me my other limit and stuff like that, but it would have been nice, having that leeway of maybe just keeping them separate instead of just putting it all into the synergy thing.
Or at
I also
least-
feel like I didn't use
think-
synergy a lot.
I use it all
think
the
the
time.
frustrating. Yeah, I use it all the time as well. I think the frustrating thing about the synergy abilities is the fact that unlike limit breaks, they don't give the characters any invul. So you can have characters mid synergy ability just die.
Yeah.
That is
So
true.
You have to like plan around them because of that. Yeah, I agree with that.
But synergy can also is like the trade-off is that you're probably getting like unlimited mana or
Unlimited mana.
I mean, that is
extra,
what is the name of that one that
increased
gives you
stagger
unlimited
time.
mana? That one is so
There's a
good.
bunch of different. Yeah.
There's a bunch of
yeah,
them, yeah.
but like there is like that trade-off. So
But
Yeah.
like Cloud and Tifa have that, and I was abusing that. So I was like,
Yeah.
keep MP
Okay.
going while
I
healing
also
my
just
team.
love some of the animations. Like the Barrett Aerith one is still so funny to me, where she
Yeah.
puts on the sunglasses.
Shades.
the Aerith red one is really good.
Oh yeah, where she
Oh,
whips
where
it
she
around.
lifts it, yeah.
I love that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
And
That one is really good.
the one I used the most because I loved it so much was the Cloud and Kate Sith one.
Oh yeah, the Cloud and Kate Sith ones are
What
great
was it
too.
like Moogle first class?
Yeah,
Yep.
Moogle First Class Soldier or something like that.
Admittedly,
also-
I
God,
did
Kate
kind
Smith
of.
is so fun to play.
I did kind of stop watching them after a while just because it's like, well, I could watch these cool animations, which I've already watched.
Yeah, I would just
Or
like pop it
I
and
could
then
just
switch
swap-
to another
Oh, of
character.
course.
Yeah, swap to
Yeah,
my
yeah,
next
yeah.
character.
I would, depending on the fight. If I really needed to get the other character to do something, I would swap.
I think for me, and this was the case in Remake, I still think like Tifa was probably still, well, Cloud and Tifa were definitely my favorites. Tifa, just because she is like, the big thing with her is that because of her triangle skills, Rise and Fall, Omni Strike, etc., she's very good at building up stagger percentage multiplier. Once an opponent is staggered, and then the new skill that she got, Trinity Strike, is ludicrously strong. It is insanely powerful. It is like a limit break on a 1 ATB skill, and the only catch is that you have to time a couple of button presses.
So I kept failing Trinity Strike, and
Oh,
honestly, so I didn't
honestly
see
don't
the
even
full
remember
power.
that move.
There's a trick to it. So when
I saw the
you need
square
to
like
press-
pop up, but I was like late.
but no, it's even simpler than that. So if you look in the bottom left where it says attack,
Hmm.
it'll change to Trinity Strike the moment you need to press.
Oh, okay. I'll have to
Oh,
try that
okay.
then. Because I like they also gave
You
her
have to
True
react
Strike.
like immediately.
Okay, but that helps because I still have to do stuff in post.
The one change to combat that I loved that they did as well was made aerial combat so much better.
Yeah,
Because
Yes,
in
it's
Remake,
so much
it was
nicer.
absolute ass.
Yeah, you had to.
I love just
only
like
use
triple
Barrett, and that was
slashing
it.
around in the sky, and oh my god,
Yeah.
that
It's
was
like
the
triple
best.
slash. There's like parts and combo strings for at least Cloud that he will just lift himself into the air.
Yep.
Mhm. The new Firebolt Blade lets him do that as well.
Mhm.
And just like the synergy skill, a good handful of the synergy skills, like again, like the Tifa ones, for instance, with most of the characters, she gets ones that launch her into the air, so she can start fighting there very easily without even
Yeah.
having to spend ATB.
I think the Tifa Yuffie one does that.
Yeah, Tifa
Yeah,
Yuffie and Tifa
Yuffie,
Aerith.
Cloud, Tifa
Oh, yeah,
Aerith,
Cloud
Tifa
as well.
Barrett, like almost all of them. It's very handy.
One thing I'll say with those is like, I mean, obviously you always have Cloud, and Cloud has almost all of Cloud's with other characters. He has offensive ones that build ATB for you and them. So I use those a lot to build ATB on two characters really fast. But then you go to other characters like Red has one that calls the person over to fight the target with him, but doesn't build ATB. Barrett has one that calls the target to fight target with, doesn't have ATB. So it's like those ones I just didn't really use because like there's no real purpose to them. So I kind of wish
Yeah.
every character had something that they could use it and double it. Like you gain ATB on two targets because it makes it easier to choose who's building ATB and when. Because like Aerith and Yuffie both have one because they both have charge attacks basically that are spell damage with certain characters. Cloud has it. but then I think Kate Sith, Red, and Barrett all don't. And Tifa.
I'm just having fun listening to you guys talking about combat because like literally I would just use Barrett, bonus round, and I'm good to go. Like just stagger everybody. Bonus round like saved my butt so many times throughout the course of this game where it was like I found myself utilizing synergy attacks, but probably not nearly as much as I was supposed to. I feel like a lot of the time I've always played like this though. I just kind of like this about Final Fantasy. I'm a heavy magic user. I just like to have magic on like quick commands, go off, exploit the weakness. I would like intel everything, make sure I find out what's good against what thing, and just go to town. And I loved those like 1 ATB abilities that you have that then can do the elemental damage that every character has access to without needing to give them that materia. I thought was so good. That is like such a huge improvement to me.
This to me is why this game, in my opinion, has one of the best combat systems of any like RPG/action RPG I've played. And it's because regardless of your skill level, regardless of how you try to play it, it is fun. And I think that's so important. Because like for the Xenoblade games, for instance, I think those can suffer from not feeling all that fun, especially early on and when you don't know how to play them.
Yes.
But this game, because they do a really good job of making simple things quite powerful, but also having a ton of options, a ton of depth, they create a great dynamic where players of any level can have a good time, I think.
Yeah, they handle the difficulty in this game, I think, superbly. Just because of what you mentioned with the combat, but also like having that dynamic difficulty option, making it where nothing seems like everything's challenging, but it's as challenging as you want it to be. If you're somebody who wants to optimize, you can totally do that. When you're playing on like the super hard mode after you've beaten the game, like obviously things get even harder and you have to optimize and you have to be using the right materia. But then it's almost like a puzzle game, right? I like that too. Because even as somebody who's like not super duper into it and not optimizing all the time and just like playing at my own pace, I still feel like things are doable. Nothing ever feels like I am like completely at a loss for what to do and I'm never going to be able to beat this thing. I feel like with enough practice and figuring out characters' techniques and figuring out when to use certain spells or when to activate your synergies or whatever, you can beat everything in this game pretty handily. And I think you bringing up Xenoblade's a really good example too, because I think like a lot of the late game stuff that'll happen, especially in 3, like base game 3, that comes to mind, was just like, I felt like I was just doing damage to a sponge at some point, right? Like, and I know that there were certain things that I could have done to make things a little more optimal, but like I didn't fully understand that because the game didn't really teach me in a correct way. Whereas this one, I feel like you naturally sort of learn the best way to play it through playing it more. Like not even through the game teaching you, literally just through playing the game. I feel like people are able to develop their own kind of techniques and what works best for them. And you can go toe to toe with somebody who, from day one knows everything is trying to be optimal. Like you're finding your own fun in how you're playing the game. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to approach it, which I really like. I also like the puzzle. Like this quest annoyed me at first. One of the enemy skill quests is like a mind flare and 2 of these enemies that will count down and then blow up.
I hate that one.
Yeah, you can't kill them. Yeah. And later I realized you have to bring sleep. You put them to sleep and then you could kill the mind flare while they're
asleep. I did it completely different. What I did was I just soloed with Cloud and just did 1 by 1.
Yeah, because like I was doing it, and Tifa and Red were just running out and fucking the little ones up, and it's like, okay. And so I was like, I'm just gonna bring sleep and try. So I brought sleep, and yeah, the CPUs won't attack them if they're asleep. So then I got through that one. What I will say, because I even went and got all the Genji pieces. So I did all the world bosses on hard, which all those weren't too bad. They were kind of the same. They just changed something about them. But, like I said before we started this, the enemy called White Terror, who is a white wolf that you fight on a side quest in the first area, I'm on dynamic the whole time. First area, I rolled over him. And I'm on dynamic, though. But I beat him. Wasn't really a big deal. He comes back in a later mission, and then, like, he does, this, like, so the gimmick of White Terror, I think he's one of the worst stagger mechanics in this entire game. Because the gimmick is you have to beat the shit out of him. Otherwise, he does a big explosion that will kill your party, and if that doesn't kill them, it then rains fire down that auto-targets and will kill them. So like, And so it was kind of bad because I'm doing the hard missions for Chadley, and then here's White Terror and White Slime, and it's like, okay, I think I'm trying to strategy. I'm trying to put the slime to sleep, have everybody focus White Terror, but then there's a Cloud solo mission, second round, White Terror, and this whole time I've tried to figure everything out myself. I got so frustrated. I looked it up on Reddit, and you have to bring like stop. You have to run at him with stop, and then the enemy skill, put on plasma, use sonic boom, and just start mashing on him to have any hope of doing enough damage that he will stagger. And it's insane. Like, I think his stagger mechanic is actually the worst because he does way too much. Like, the punish for not staggering him is literally your party dies. Because if that shit goes off, even if they block it because it's on hard, it's doing about 3,000 damage through block, and then each of the fireballs do like 1,000 if they hit you and like 500 if you block them. Like, it's insane the damage he does to you. So like, you just have to hardcore look up a way to fight the White Terror. So that enemy can bite me. Well, the rest of them, I love the pattern of figuring out how you beat each, and then you feel like you feel really good because then you figure it out and you fight him again and you know what to do. But like that enemy, nah, fuck him.
I loved the Tonberry King fight was super fun, where you have to actually steal the crown, like physically use steel to take the thing in the middle of the fight to get the pristine version.
That was
so
one
fun.
thing I was kind of sad about. I get it because you don't always want to force people to use steel. Literally, the only times it's that Tonberry fight and the first time you fight Reno are the only times there's like a stealable item in like the entire game. Compared to like
main items. Like
no,
you
like
still steal.
Yeah, you could steal stuff, but it's like crafting stuff or like an ether. I mean, like something because in the remake, the Ghost Train Yard, the final boss there had a weapon if you stole from him.
Right, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
But in this game, they don't do that at all.
I think the fight that got me was Odin, and I still haven't beaten that one enough.
The Odin fight was so sick in this one. It was so good though.
It was just like I'm fighting him, and then it feels completely random when he Zantetsugens and just wipes the party. And I'm just like, I've assessed why he does that. You know, I'm avoiding most of his attacks. You know, maybe I'm getting hit here and there, but there's a clean sequence where I'm not getting hit. I'm doing everything correct, and he still just Zantetsugens the party and I die. And I'm like, why is this happening?
Are you playing with like all the stuff unlocked where then you're making him weaker, or are you playing it full? Really?
Yeah, like because even then, like, I had no trouble with any of the others playing it like that, but then the Odin in particular, for some reason, had just been kicking my ass.
Yeah, Odin is like a specific DPS check at first, and then once you get past that, it's like a little easier, but it's still very difficult because he casts like so many different things throughout that entire fight.
Just do like if you're swirling on him,
I'm feeling pretty
He does
good.
not care about you. He will just full on blast you.
The other day, what you said DPS check, and it's just making me laugh because like the other day I was struggling with that Venat fight in Endwalker, and it was like completely a skill issue, total DPS check, and then meanwhile it's like this Odin fight in Rebirth. I was like, oh yeah, I streamed it. I beat it first try. It was fine. Like
another thing you can do with
a little
Odin
better now about the Endwalker
is if you bring D-Brave, D-Faith, and just put D-Brave on him, that also affects the Zenzekin counter, so you can lower it by doing that.
That might have been, because I always had Kate Sith with D-Brave, D-Faith, all that kind of stuff. I found because he's chunkier, he would set that stuff, cast it up really easily, and I could have him chilling in the back, tanking up the damage, while Cloud is off doing things and staggering with Barrett, and then I don't think I really had a problem. Or like Aerith was also
I've never been much of a debuffing person. I just
I'm not either, but he was shitting on me, and I was like, okay, I looked at that assess. I'll bring it.
I'm a buffer and a debuffer for sure. I was always using.
What I had was the materia that can absorb elements, and so
that's good too.
Isn't he non-elemental?
It helped me when I put it on. Maybe it's placebo. I don't know.
Maybe it is. Could be.
He might have.
Speaking of the Odin fight and some of these other fights, though, like any standout boss battles? Obviously, there's a lot of really good ones in this game, but just curiously, other ones that have come to mind that maybe we didn't necessarily talk about.
Of the summons, I really like Bahamut Arisen, but I'm also a Bahamut fan. So
Bahamut, you mean?
Not at all. That was actually the one I actually beat full power. Was that one? Because I went there with a different party, assuming I just lose. But then I realized like, oh, his mechanic is you just need to do a synergy attack on him. Okay, that's pretty easy. And then Barrett with lifesaver on, which is letting me soak all the extra damage. So it's like, oh, well, let me just keep Barrett. Let me bring Tifa, and I beat him. It's like, oh, perfect.
Nice.
My favorite summon would probably be Alexander, because I'm very biased towards Alexander. But my favorite fight, it's still Zack. That Zack fight was so cool. Or not Zack, sorry, Vincent.
Oh
Yeah,
my god,
Vincent was sick. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm generally like a big fan of one-on-one fights in these sorts of games. So I really enjoyed the Rufus run
I
back.
also, yes,
Um,
dude, the Rufus
I-
run back is so good.
Not a
in this
1v1.
and I
Oh,
really
It is at first.
1v2, whatever.
Yeah, right,
and
right.
I really enjoyed the last Roche fight. The
Yes,
one
I
in
like
Oh,
that
yeah,
one a
the
lot.
And
Roche
too.
fight was
Nibelheim
cool
is
too,
so
yeah.
fun.
Can we
Yeah,
talk about Roche as a character? I was really wondering what they're gonna do with this guy. So they made him up for Remake, and then like I
Yep.
like that they used him to really explain to people that didn't get who the Black Robe characters are. I thought that was a really
Yes.
cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love that because I remember like when Remake first came out and people were like, okay, who is this guy eventually going to become? Like, he's obviously going to be an important character moving forward. Like, who is this? Obviously wasn't present in the first game. Dude, like, he made Chapter 4 for me. Like, that fight in the arena with the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, with like the jazz band music
Oh
playing.
yeah, yeah.
And he's rolling around on the motorcycle 1v1. Like, I'm right there with Viram. I feel like so many of my favorite fights in this one were the 1v1 fights. I loved that Roche arena fight. I loved the Rufus run back, especially because like the Rufus theme is my single favorite song from the original remake. Like I love that. I
It's
still will go
fantastic.
back and listen to it. It's so good. And I loved that fight, and I loved that it really was like your check to make sure you're knowing how to utilize the mechanics correctly within the game. And I feel like the way that they did it in the Golden Saucer, again, having like the crowd cheering while you're fighting him breaking out the dog in the second half, like targeting him, doing the correct counters, especially like going back to it once you have counter stance, once you've actually beaten the game. So like you get counter stance in the second to last area, right? You're able to unlock the weapon that then unlocks the counter stance ability for Cloud. And I remember counter stance was how I beat Rufus in Remake. So I went back after I had beaten the game and I went back to the chapter where you fight Rufus again. And dude, I breezed through that fight with counter stance enabled. And I'm like, oh, this is how you're supposed to just completely wallop him. And it was so much fun.
Is that the move
He
that
does-
instantly staggers him? Because I know something it's supposed to,
No.
but I forgot what it is.
Braver.
No, it doesn't. No.
Braver.
Is it
Braver
Braver?
instantly
Braver is the
staggers
move.
him.
Okay,
Yes.
so when he
Yeah.
reloads, okay.
Yeah. If you use Braver, then you're able to do it. But I also we talked about it earlier, dude. That Genova emergent fight on the cruise ship is perfection with the music that plays during it, like seeing all these creepy things floating around you, knowing where you are at that point in the game. Just a massive surprise. Adored it. The Vincent one that you guys brought up, so good.
I
That's
love
What's your guys' least favorite?
White
the
Terror.
least
Oh.
favorite boss fight.
I know.
Ooh.
So
White Terror for
got it.
sure. It's not technically a
The-
boss. That thing's a boss.
the demon wall that you fight near the end.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
that's
boss-
my answer.
I felt like I was fighting the camera more than the enemy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, the demon door or whatever.
I got two.
Yes. Okay, let's hear it.
When you're fighting the Turks, when you're in the temple.
Oh, you didn't like the Elena song fight?
I think that can be very overwhelming because of how fast paced it is.
Sure.
Well, I love that fight as well.
I do like it, but like I like the concept of it, but actually playing it was like I didn't like it too much.
I'm very curious for some of the stuff in this game for people who like really did not want to build more than just 3 characters. Because there are parts, especially that last Genova fight, where it's literally just swapping you out. Like it's kicking characters out, you're getting different ones. So like people who just like really refuse to build more than 3, like how do they deal with the fact that now you have to use the whole party? Like I personally love that because the game, because it's even ever since Remake, because it's swapping around so much, I had builds in mind for every character. So everyone characters swapped and are playing someone else, already had like an idea what to do. Also, I have to say with Kate Sith, I love that because like one of his limits was like a random thing, and one of the things you could randomly do is call summons. They just gave him Moogle magic, and he just calls out a summon. So I would just put Bahamut on him and just call out Bahamut to do attacks.
Cool. The other boss fight, it wasn't a bad boss fight. It was actually a very incredible boss fight, but it was annoying. The Sephiroth fight, because if you die, you have to watch that entire cutscene over again, and you can't skip it.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Which part of it?
And I died 5 times on that.
Whoa!
Oh,
which
jeez.
part?
The
You mean the
entire
final
fight,
part?
I've died. Yeah, the final Sephiroth fight.
It kicks
When
you
it's
back
you
to the
when
very
it's you and
beginning.
no, I did not
Oh,
say that.
I
said-
the very final segment where it's you and where it's Cloud and Aerith
Oh,
versus.
Yes.
got it.
If you die in that fight, you have to watch that entire cutscene again when she walks
I
out
see.
and the conversation happens. Yada yada yada.
Bro,
I was
I
literally
don't want to
one
hear it
hit
though.
away
I
from
don't-
beating Sephiroth
I don't want
when
to
he
hear
was
it from
casting
you
that
though.
stupid attack, and I was like, Aerith was dead, and I was like, dude, he's so close to dying. I could just leave Aerith dead. I'll just use my gauge
Oh no!
to just beat him. And he lived with the sliver of health, and I die, and I had to do the entire fight again. I was so tilted.
I would still much rather do the Aerith Sephiroth fight again and rewatch that cutscene than do Z again.
Yeah,
ever
I
again.
agree, yeah.
You know,
You're
bro,
talking
when
about
I
Z,
died
yeah.
on Z and I had to watch that bullshit
Yeah.
again, and it's 45 minutes long to get even to the second segment, I was like,
That's
this
fair.
is too much.
And it
bro.
was late for you.
And I was late,
during
right?
that
Because
fight
you
as
remember watching
well.
me stream. Yeah,
Yep,
because both
I
of you
remember
guys
that.
were watching me. And I'm sitting there, like, going through this final segment. People are like, it's going to take 2 hours. And they're just sponging me. And I'm going through that segment with Z, and I die. And then he wipes my party. I have to do the whole thing again. Bro, I was so I don't think I've ever been that angry at a final
Okay, but
boss.
were you happy when he did that cringe scream afterwards when you beat him?
I hate it. 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 Oh my God, dude. That's burned in my brain eternally. Oh God, man.
It's actually kind of funny. Because I managed to get through all that on the first try.
Oh,
I've
nice,
actually
good.
found the I found this game's final boss, Rebirth, that is, to be more, or rather the final segment overall. So that's like the combination of the Genova part,
Sure.
the bits with Zack, etc., all the way up to the Aerith plus Cloud versus Sephiroth bit. I found that to be more exhausting.
Mm.
It was good, but I was playing through it thinking like, dude, there are so many phases. When is this gonna end?
Yeah, because you have the initial bit, and then you have Cloud and Zack, and then you have the Bizarro Sephiroth with
Which
Barrett and
then,
Yuffie and
yeah,
Red.
you swap
And
all
then
the time, like
You
Bizarro, to
swap
fight different
constantly,
parts.
right? Then you've got the Cloud and Aerith one. Yeah, there are a ton.
Which,
and
by the
Zack
way-
one by himself.
And you
Yeah.
know what it was? You know, I think a lot of it was because this boss fight was the way it was for the sake of being grand and impressive,
Yes.
rather than necessarily trying to say something
It
outside
felt
of the
that
very
for
final
sure.
bit.
Yeah,
It felt very
Because-
similar to the remake fight. Like it had the same kind of layout that remake had, but it just like the grandiose comment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that definitely
guess
applies for sure.
When you take into consideration the stuff in the lead up to Sephiroth in Remake towards the end, where you're fighting like the Kadaj thing and the other two, right?
The
Like
giant
they're
whisper.
that's right. All that stuff in the lead up to Sephiroth does kind of make it the same. I think the only part for me that I was like struggling on when I played through it, I think I managed to beat it my first time too, but the part that I struggled on was the segment in the middle where you have to do the weak elemental things to the different wings of Sephiroth before you can
Oh, yeah,
attack
yeah.
with the middle core bit. And I kept screwing up the elemental weaknesses because I was thinking in terms of Pokemon. And so like when the lightning one would show up, I would forget to do arrow, or like I would so I'm constantly like doing the wrong things, or like with fire and then Blizzaga, because I'm like, wait, you don't do ice for the fire one because that's not going to be good against it. So I was screwing that up. But for the most part, I thought like I loved the bit where you're Zack by himself building up your combos, going out, and then you have like Aerith summoning the flower thing in the middle.
Yeah, to like
So
protect
good.
you from some attacks.
Yeah.
I would say, like, when Bizarro first spawned and you're fighting him as Cloud, I was like, this feels like such a callback to Kingdom Hearts 1. Like the lead up to the final boss, Kingdom Hearts 1
yeah.
with the giant thing. Also, okay, so when I was doing that, I'm doing Genova, and they were splitting them up. Also, that's my favorite fight, the last Genova fight, because how cinematic it is. You get Cloud, you get Team Avalanche doing like a chain attack versus it, basically. Like it's so cool. But they were doing that and splitting it up. I was like, oh, this is a callback to Bizarro. Then Sephiroth just turned into Bizarro, and I'm thinking, okay, what the hell are they doing at the end of the next game? Because like,
well, next game is safer Sephiroth.
well,
Like,
they're
next
obviously
game
they're
is gonna
definitely gonna
be
do
his, like,
safer,
Smash
but
4.
like,
yeah,
are they not gonna do? Because like it was, it's I forget what the Genova is called, but the last Genova, then Bizarro and Birth of a God is playing, then Safer. So like, what are they gonna do? Because there's no way they're cutting Birth of a God. Like that song is so cool. So they gotta
also
put that in there
Genova,
somewhere.
like also there's a whole Genova fight before that too.
Yeah,
Technically,
yeah, that's what I
with
said,
Hojo,
yeah.
right? All the stuff with
Oh, yeah,
Hojo.
the
There
Hojo fight,
there
too.
could just be a
Right.
completely new thing with
Yeah,
all
it
of
could
the
also be that
live stream stuff. So
Glenn or whatever. You can get another character showing up and transforming.
not
and
even
doing
that, like a
something
whole
crazy.
new version of Sephiroth.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like a new form. Yeah, unsafe Sephiroth is what it instead of safer Sephiroth. You get unsafe Sephiroth.
And then I can't wait
Um,
to see what Safer's attacks look like.
Oh, they're gonna look amazing.
Speaking of Genova, I guess we can talk about this now.
Yeah.
because this is a good transition.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of Ultimania?
Yeah.
I have heard of it, but I am not familiar with it entirely.
Okay. So Ultimania is like a series of like FF books. I think they're books, right? Yeah, they're books that just like have a lot, like little art books that have a lot of extra info and stuff in it like that. And they
Okay.
explain a lot of stuff in the doves, yada yada yada. So there was a theory that I stumbled across that someone made after the release of Remake. And it is called the Edge of Creation theory.
Let's hear it.
So the Edge of Creation we see in Remake and in Rebirth. And it's like that piece of rock that Sephiroth and Cloud fight on, and you can see the giant expanse of the all of the universes around them. What I'll actually do, I'll link you guys this here.
Okay,
Let me
let's
put
see
this
it.
here. You guys can take a look through here. But basically, this guy made this theory and said there's info in this Ultimania book that alludes to Sephiroth's motivation throughout the remaining games, and it kind of lines up now after Rebirth has been released.
Okay.
So in the concept art for the Edge of Creation fight and Remake, they show images of Sephiroth and Cloud fighting, right? And it is noted that Sephiroth, you might have to pull up a video like on your end, McDareth, or maybe add it in post, I don't know. But there is an image where it states that when they take their fighting stances, Cloud bears the burden of the universe of creation, and Sephiroth burdens the universe of death. So there's already an implication in Remake that there's multiple like universes. So the person that made this theory said, okay, so maybe this Edge of Creation scene implies that there's more than one future. And maybe that's what maybe Sephiroth doesn't want, to throw a meteor into the planet. Maybe he wants to have this power so that he can have total domination over an entire future, over an entire universe. But the interesting thing is that in this book, it kind of words it strangely, because you would assume what visual would you assume like life and death with? You would assume like life is good, death is bad, right?
Right.
In the book, it's implied that the universe of creation is
Like bad?
the bad one.
Right.
And the shape of the universe of creation in the scene of Remake, you can go and look at it if you go back and watch cutscenes. The shape of the universe of death is literally Genova Lifeklinger. It's the exact same thing. The exact same shape. You can see the arm, it is very detailed. You can see it. And the universe of death is like a very bright universe. It's very colorful. And again, you can also see that in
Which
the
page is that?
cutscene.
I just pulled it up.
It's so you won't see it in the pages. Like, you'll actually see the colorized stuff and like all of that in the cutscene of the game.
Okay.
But like but it literally lines up with the notes that they
I'm
put
seeing
on
the
that.
photo. You're talking
Yeah.
about the one that's like where Cloud is standing with the Buster Sword on the ground and he's looking up at the universe, and it looks like
Yeah, and it says he
yeah.
bears the he
Yes,
burdens
yes,
the
yes.
life of creation and whatever,
Yep.
blah 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 blah.
Yep.
So, yeah, this basically implies that Sephiroth overcame Holy. He overcomes Holy, like he originally
Like from
does.
the first game, right?
Yep, he originally does, and that instead of what's his original motivation? It's like to just
he thinks Genova was the last
he
ancient that the world
yeah,
is
he
belongs
deserves
to him.
he deserves
He deserves
Right.
he deserves the world.
Yeah, so instead of destroying it, or sorry, instead of deserving the world, he deserves like the universe. Like this is basically what it implies. So this might allude to Sephiroth just wanting complete control of the life stream, and that would make sense with stuff we've seen so far, and how he's able to, at least what I think he's able to, is travel through the life stream just like Aerith can. And
Sure.
we see him in all of his different reincarnations and stuff like that. But if you read through it, there's some line that I forgot to highlight that really sticks out.
It also cycles back to the line that's repeated numerous times throughout the game. It's not death, it's a homecoming.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Let's see if I can find this really quick.
Well, also like to play on memories as well too, right? Like his iconic quote of like "I'll never be a memory" from Advent
Yeah.
Children, and like from the Smash trailer, and like how memories relate to the live stream and whether or not they are actually other worlds or like memories of other histories or whatever that could mean as well too. It's like there's so many different ways you could interpret it. And this is interesting though. I had not seen this prior to this. One thing I will mention while you're looking for this though, is that in terms of stuff that's in other books and other like added material, this is one specific thing that I actually do think is going to come up at part 3 at some point that initially is from a book and is actually referenced at some point in Rebirth as well. And that is Kyrie and sort of like her role in all of this. We never actually find out about Kyrie's boyfriend in Rebirth, but actually her boyfriend, according to one of the Final Fantasy VII books, I think it's called The Kids Are All Right. Her boyfriend is this private detective who is actually the illegitimate son of Rufus's father. And you find out during this book that Rufus is actually the one who initially funded Avalanche in the first place to go against his father. And so there's a lot of really interesting stuff in this that people are not aware of. And we're seeing a lot more of Kyrie. Obviously, she played a bigger role in Remake. We saw her in her mission. She obviously has the side mission with the Merc as well in this one. So I do feel like that's probably going to come up at some point in that either her relationship with the illegitimate son or that stuff with Rufus and the clearance that actually Rufus is the one initially funding Avalanche in the first place too, like that all that'll eventually come to a head in part 3. I think somebody in your chat also pointed out that that was something that was in before Crisis too, but that game you can't even play anymore. That game is like an old mobile phone game back on flip phones from years and years ago. So have they ever? I don't think they've ever re-released before Crisis. I could be wrong.
Think they probably just put the stuff you need to know from in books and stuff.
Yeah,
now.
in the books. Yeah,
I can't find it, but it was basically alluding to Sephiroth. He like could basically live through Cloud because Cloud has cells
memories of him
and memories of him as well. Damn, I wish I could find it because it was like a really big thing.
You were sitting there reading it and being like, "Oh my god, this changes everything."
Not even changes everything, but I was like, this guy
It just makes sense. Yeah,
he got basically like pretty spot on with Rebirth, and he added more on top of it as well.
like after Rebirth came out.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
keep an eye on it. Just keep an eye on it, I guess.
for sure.
Oh, something we didn't talk about yet is the fact that like the black and white whispers is like the influence of Sephiroth and Aerith separately.
Aerith.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
because it's funny because like there's times when like you see the whispers and they're very obviously guiding specifically Cloud towards something, but it's always the black ones.
Yes.
And then
Yeah,
the white
because
ones
it's
show
Sephiroth,
up.
obviously. Yep.
Yeah, and the white ones show up when Tifa's in the live stream.
Yep. Helping her out.
Wait, Tifa.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. When she's in the live stream, you know, when she falls
When
in
she
with the
gets-
Mako weapon.
Yeah, she falls in and the weapon
I
swallows her.
just assumed that it was always from the beginning Sephiroth and Aerith just controlling the whispers.
Oh no, yeah, it is Sephiroth and Aerith. I'm not saying
Oh, they
Tifa's
are,
controlling
for
him. I'm saying
sure.
the first time you see them is when Tifa's in the live stream. Then you see
Right.
the other
With the
ones.
white whispers. Right.
In Rebirth?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the first time
Oh,
they
I thought
show
you-
up.
I thought you see the white whispers.
I thought you were talking about it like in entirety of the entire remake.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
no,
that's why I got
yeah.
confused.
No,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
The,
Yeah,
the
in
whispers
Rebirth,
were
that's
like
what they do.
gray before, and then after remake they become black, and it like it's very implied that Sephiroth has control of them. But then when Tifa's in the live stream, you see white ones that are like fighting back.
Well, that's also interesting too, right? Of them being gray before, but then now they're split to black and white. You do almost wonder if like that plays on the idea of the end of the first one, right? Of like being able to change your fate and who is
I
actually in
think-
control of the live stream and all that kind of stuff.
I think that plays on the basis of perception for Cloud. And
That
how
too.
he
Sure.
still can't tell reality and
Sure.
who's actually helping him and whatnot and stuff like
Sure.
I could see that, but
Um,
I mention it because like everyone saw the white ones, like even the
Yeah.
fight. Like there's a fight with the white whispers before you get in,
Mhm.
which is it was almost like Aerith trying to prevent them from stopping her.
that. Yeah.
Stopping it. Yeah, right. Because she knows this has to happen.
I'm still really sad that Jesse and Biggs and Wedge are just like they did Wedge dirty, man.
Wedge specifically got done.
They
dirty.
did
Flying
him
out
Yeah.
flying out a window, wanting to go check on his cats. It's like
Splatted on the ground like
Yeah.
a piece
And the
of
whispers
oh my
actually-
Biggs
God.
at least got more time, obviously, with the stuff with Zach and Jesse, all the stuff in the Golden Saucer. I mean, that was like one of my favorite moments in the game where Barrett's taking off his sunglasses and crying after seeing Jesse's performance and like
Yeah.
all the little interactions that you have with your party members when you see the Jesse picture for the first time and they're telling the story of her and like how that related to her little side mission with her parents in the first game. It's just like, oh God.
I
So
wanted
good.
so when I did when I redid that mission to get like all the different people you need to have be a cast member for the collection, I wanted to just skip past the Jesse part to see what the person I was with would say when they watch it, but if you press skip, it goes straight to the Loveless section. So you have to sit through the entire Jesse part to see
Yeah.
what they say. So I have to
Yeah.
look those up later. And then it's also so the Wedge thing, him just being killed by the whispers because he was supposed to be dead. It was like definitely unfortunate, but I thought it was at least interesting because it showed the whispers not only will they save people, they will just kill people to maintain the order.
Oh yeah.
I like because we're talking about the Avalanche members, the Proto Relic quest line with it was obviously you mentioned before with the Gears mini game, which was a bit of a shame, but the actual story content with regards to the extra context of the Avalanche members.
I don't even think that should have been linked to that minigame.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
kind of wild that it was because that's such great kind of character and story
It's
info.
like a pretty important
Yeah.
piece of info that you would want to know.
Mm.
So I remember you brought this up before that you didn't like that so much side stuff has so many story beats, and I completely understand that if you don't like a lot of that stuff should be in, but I also like the fact that doing these side missions is less of a chore because I'm learning so much about these characters, their interactions in the
Yes.
world because I'm doing them. So I'm like the same thing with like Xenoblade 3. Like the side quests in
I didn't-
Xenoblade 3,
yeah, hold on.
many of them
I
should
didn't have
have
any
been.
problem with the story stuff. The only thing I was upset about was that the Avalanche stuff being tied to Gears and Gambits.
Okay,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
it
can
was
be a hard
someone else who said
strike
that.
because like you want your side quests to feel important to make it
Sure.
feel like make them feel worth doing for their players, but then
The side
not
quest
every
stuff,
player is going to want to do the side quests just inherently because of their nature, and so them losing out on quite key information feels bad.
like the one side quest that I really liked because of the story was the Cisne training stuff. That I
That
enjoyed
was
a lot.
really good. Yeah.
Mm.
It's
I
just
love-
that I feel like it's the actual contents of the mini game. It's more so the mini
Right.
games. The side
Yeah.
quest stuff, it's not really much. It's it just feels like the mini games did not contribute much from the previous games. It felt like it was the same thing that they just added on. And for people who like to complete their games at 100%, it felt just too tedious.
Yeah,
And that's all.
kinda-
That's all.
That's the developer saying, "Bro, get a life, go outside."
No,
That's
Well, go make your game 100 hours.
I know.
Big
I'm
up
only
Yoshi P.
teasing.
well,
I'm
because
teasing.
I guess that's where it is. Because I kind of I get where you're coming from. Because there's
No,
a lot
totally.
of them, but like
Totally.
I also went for 100%. I liked them because they were. If it was the same minigame every single time, I think that'd be old. Even going back and doing the hard versions of some of them was like, well, the Gears one I liked the least, obviously, but like the rest of them was like, okay, it's not so bad. But because like when
It's
I
like, why
finally
do I have to
did
do
chapters,
50+ fights and the gold saucer? Why do I have to do
No, I
all
think
of
the
these
only
Yeah.
one,
chocobo
the only
races?
one that
Why do
really
I have to
bothered me
collect
was the
all of
chocobo
these
gliding
things?
one. I did not like the chocobo gliding one.
Oh,
Otherwise,
yeah,
I was
no.
pretty much okay.
But that's
I
like
still
an
do not.
actual like mini game that they did. Like there's
oh that
a
one,
lot of the
yeah,
mini
that one
games
took a while for me to
Yeah.
figure it out.
are like
Yeah.
collection quests and stuff like that, where it's just like I was just running around from point A to point B with like no substance.
I will say the worst quest in the game for me, far and away by far, was the dumb chicken one, where you have like the little tin and you have to get the chickens back to the coop.
yeah,
Bro,
like
I
Yeah,
hated that one. I hated it.
That is a
I get
quest
it.
where
I didn't like
It's
it.
just-
But I didn't mind.
I didn't have trouble, but like it's the kind of quest where it's like, oh, I know people will hate this because
That
it
was
could
me.
easily go wrong,
Yeah,
and it just wastes your time.
the thing,
Especially because I didn't realize until like about midway through it that you could throw the thing again
okay, yeah.
while he's
That's-
still running off, and then it makes it way easier.
Yeah.
So I thought I had to go back to the very beginning every single time, and I was just losing it. I was so upset.
Yeah, because when I was doing that, I just threw it to see and it worked. And it's like, okay, people will know this. And that's like I like said that it audibly when I
Right.
was doing it.
But
It's
then
like, yeah,
once I did it halfway through, then it was fine. Yeah.
I
The ones
I,
that
I
I
did
like-
like
I
with
still
that
hate the
one.
3D boxing.
I like the bait and switch with the last one. It's like, oh, you have to go all the way back, and then you stop like halfway after the monster shows up. You don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
Yeah.
the
What'd you
ones
say
the
about
ones that I
3D
liked were
boxing?
so different. Like the ones that I liked were the frog Fall Guys one because it was so short,
Super
and
duper
simple.
fun. Yep, love
Yeah.
that one.
And then Queen's Blade because it was like an actual
Oh.
intricate system and like
Yeah, the best.
there's a lot of thought that goes into it and stuff like that.
What decks did you guys build?
I
Uh,
built primarily 1-stars. I would have the mushrooms that would spawn the other mushrooms. I would have Shiva that would fill up all the other points on my map. And then I would fill my deck with replacements. And I would take every single one of the Shiva, like the placeholder 2-star ones or whatever that are in the middle. I would replace over the little Shiva things and just lock out my opponent.
Yeah, destruction and replacement deck
Yeah.
was probably the strongest thing.
And
you could
that
build.
specifically,
Yeah,
if like
destruction.
if you build it, I would always have the crab that has the one that like boosts the thing on the top up by one. And so I would place that crab, I'd create the 3-star up in the corner. I would put the Midgard summer there, and then after summoning Shiva or the Mughals with 2 and filling up the other slots with like the 1-stars or with the ice and replacing, every single time you would replace, you'd make the Midgard
Yeah,
summer
you cancel the
stronger.
destruction.
And
yeah.
so it would just wipe everything.
It sucks that the best card you can get in the game is the very end where you have no one else to fight anymore. And so it's
Well,
just
there
like,
are
you
still
know,
a couple
card
of
is
things
that?
in the
Like,
gold
which one?
saucer. It's the Shadow Blood Queen.
Yeah, the Shadow Blood
Oh
Queen.
yes.
Speaking of which, I built a deck around that. I built one of the
yeah, when you get that card, like the buffing deck is like the best deck you can build.
Yeah.
I built like a self debuff deck, which had cards like Gina. Well, because basically, it was one of those cards where when a card gets enfeebled, something else gets buffed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ran that with cards like the Desert Sahagin. Gin Attack was amazing. That card is ridiculous. Obviously the Shadow Blood Queen is like the ace of the deck. Titan is a Titan's just a very solid, reliable card in any deck.
Yeah.
If you combine the the buffing cards with the cards that was like, if you win this lane, just get 10 points.
Yes.
It was
like the
Dude, the
Chocobo Jockey and
That
Tifa.
Chocobo Jockey and the Chocobo Chick are so good. There were so many times I'd put them on the lane where I'd only have Midgard Summer and either the Chocobo Jockey or the Chocobo Chick or whatever, and you would get like, if you win this lane, you win that like an extra 10 points or something.
I gotta
And so
jump
I
in
would
here,
replace.
Roger, before we get another
Yes.
Bahamut. Right?
Yes.
Midgard Sormer.
What did I say?
Midgard Summer.
Midgard Summer. That's his name, bro. It's his name is Midgard.
Midgard
Summer. Anyway,
Sormer.
when you have the snake and the chick there, and you just get the +10 and you're replacing in both of the other lanes, dude, like I feel like every single match after a certain point, once I got that card, I was just obliterating people. It was so much fun. And I really do hope they end up bringing this game to 14 or something, or even making like a mobile app, or this can't be the end of Queen's Blood, because I genuinely had an amazing time with
it's
it, and I
really
want
well
more.
thought out. Because I use the destruction deck, just like Midgard Sormer, put him in the top left normally. Then I use like Joker, another one to replace.
Are you
later.
sure it's Sormer?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Sormer.
it is.
It's Midgard Sormer.
Midgard Sormer?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is a Norse being.
I don't live in Norway, bro. I'm in America. I say
well.
Midgard Summer.
You also said
Screw
Bahamut.
you, Norway.
Mid movie.
But it's fine. I said I used to say Rathidian, and I got corrected as Rathian. So like I get it. I get it. When you're alone, sometimes you just come up with a name.
Yeah,
But
I fixed Bahamut eventually, though. Now I say Bahamut.
Now he says Tiamat.
Tiamat.
Oh,
Trying to think if there's anything else.
Well, I say for the Queen's Blood talk, the only annoying part of Queen's Blood with me is the last 2 gold saucer missions, because like the whole rest of it, I ran my destruction deck. I'm interacting with my opponent. The first like 4 rounds of both of those, you cannot interact with the opponent at all. You just need to win the lane. So I had to make basically a gimmick deck that could do super stuff super far away to interact with them that way to beat those 2.
The Queen was just the most annoying for me, because she just
same.
Going second in that game is terrible.
Yeah, you have to like the Queen demands a specific deck because she just runs a load of impossible broken cards at no cost. You just have to play around in weird ways.
Yeah, I tried to run the buff decks, like I ran Emerald Witch against her. That didn't work. So I brought Destruction and was just constantly killing her cards so she would lose buffs.
Yeah. I hated that character, by the way. I did not like that character.
The Queen?
Yeah, I did
No,
not.
you mean the girl that gets
the
possessed?
ghost, though.
The girl that gets possessed, right?
Yeah, the girl. I also didn't like her. The girl who got possessed. Yeah, she seemed like rude for no reason. I'm like, I want to be your friend and play card games with you. Why are you being mean?
Yeah, but
her
she's
design
like
just didn't like I felt like it was just a weird insert.
She looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh character. That's the way I took her. She looks like a Yu-Gi-Oh character. She looks like she acts. Yeah, pretty much the 2-toned hair, and she's a typical like Yu-Gi-Oh rival where it's like I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to win.
I feel like she'd yell at me on Twitter that I'd say something wrong, and she'd yell at me.
You said the same thing about Penny.
I also didn't like Penny until the actual game. The difference was when I played the actual game, I liked Penny by the ending. I didn't like what's her face by the end of this one.
Regina.
That's right. Anything else, dude? Because I feel like we could keep going for a while, but it's just this game is so good.
Feel like I've said everything I wanted to. I don't know. What do you guys expect for like the next game to really shock you with? Like if there's one thing you're expecting,
like in terms of a thing that they can do to really change the game.
Yeah, anything.
I really want to know what is going to happen with that clear materia, because they're setting that up so much that that's the new, like, before it was pretty much this whole game was built around, you know, the trailers were saying the world will be saved, but will you, hinting at Aerith. So now it's like the next big thing is really this white materia and Zack. So I really want to know what they're going to do with them, because that's the new wrench that's different compared to the original now.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback off of that one too. I also feel like Zack is my number one thing, like whether or not he actually is playable. Honestly, seeing Zack in the fight with Sephiroth at the end of this one shocked me, because I thought that was like a part 3 type thing. Well, I did not think we were going to get that. Like, I thought for sure there would be a segment where you're fighting as Zack in this, right, with the worlds colliding and everything. But when you get that moment of him walking up towards Cloud and being like, so here you are after all this time, and you actually have the synergy attacks between them, it was just
and like it does the Sephiroth versus Cloud final fight cut back and forth with Cloud and Zack together. It's so cool. So I thought Zack, well, I wanted Zack to show up, because I thought what they might do is they might have Zack show up to save Aerith. So like I was kind of anticipating something like that might happen, but it was still real cool the way they did it.
Did we even talk about Zack's synergy with Cloud?
I loved it.
Oh, it was so
That
good.
was so good.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
so
amazing.
cool.
I think with the clear materia, like I said before, how it's gonna be like a device for Cloud and the party to interact with Zack. I think they're gonna use the clear materia to have Zack in his like timeline actually get the holy materia, because I think it still exists in that timeline.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then he's gonna bring it over, and they're gonna use holy, and then like the same events are gonna go down, but probably some other twist is gonna happen later down the line.
Oh, real fast. One thing, talking about Holy again, that I really like they did in this game, but it's like a subtle thing, is that Sephiroth, again, like the whole point is Sephiroth is using Cloud to bring him the black materia. But they also have Aerith use Cloud to bring her the white materia.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of like mirror that in this game compared to the original.
I've definitely come to like Cloud more of a character with these remake games compared to 7.
I love Cloud.
Yeah, I do too.
Like just the
I love Cloud because he sucks. Like that's why I like him. I like him because he's just
I don't know.
No,
about
but I
that.
feel like that's the point, especially in Remake. Like Cloud is
No,
supposed to be this
definitely.
character that's like he's dry toast, a wet bread.
Yes.
Like he's
Yeah,
very
like,
much.
he's this awkward, like he's like 75% awkward dork and like
Yeah.
25% cool as fuck.
and endearing.
it's-
Also endearing too. Like
25%
Yeah.
cool is Zack.
Yeah, that's the point
No,
though.
Zack,
So-
you really like
Yeah.
Zack.
yeah, but
Zack
but,
is
but it's
nice,
cool because
though.
they're
I feel
actually they're direct. I feel like they're directly showing you what Cloud
What I
is
mean to
trying to
say-
be, and then eventually, like even in this game, you're slowly seeing Cloud open up. He's responding to people. Before he would say, "Yeah, I don't care, whatever," but now he's like actually participating in stuff they're doing and like responding to them. Like you're seeing him
Whoa.
open up.
In this, his character is definitely shifting from what it actually is, because he's definitely becoming more hostile and
Well,
you
it's-
know, edgier compared to.
I think it's
like,
like
how
at the end. It's like I think through the game.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
When Cloud hits that moment where he actually becomes Cloud, and you know the theme of identity really sets in, and you realize what he's actually about. That's the Cloud I really like, and then that's what I'm excited to see in the last
in the third game.
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, I'm really, especially
Mm.
after what
But-
they did with Red, I'm very curious how they're going to showcase the difference for Cloud there.
I'm also curious about Tifa as well, because I think Tifa will have a pretty big character moment in the last game, just
Agreed.
judging off of her like watching from the sidelines a lot in this game, and being very stricken with wanting to do what she wants to do, and needing to do what's right to make sure that, you know, Sephiroth does get taken down and shit like that. Like, I want to see what she actually wants to do for herself.
Okay, so with Tifa, I want to talk about like the look on her face when Barrett's like, "Yeah, we should probably leave," and Kyle's like, "Yep." After Aerith dies, and like,
Yeah, right.
everyone is torn up.
Are
and
you
he's just
kidding me?
he just responds
Yeah.
like that, and Tifa just looks at him. You see Aerith, and you're like, "Wait, is she alive? Is everything good?" And then it cuts back to Tifa while they're walking away, and she doesn't see her. You're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that moment when they're all like standing around after Aerith dies, and she's just like so depressed.
Sobbing. Yeah.
And then they cut to like after you actually get to the end and they're in the field and she's just crying. Like, I want to see what's going to happen with that and how she will interact with Cloud in the last game. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be like a very high point for me.
Yeah. Because like the reason Cloud recovers is because of Tifa, so I'm really curious how they're gonna do it. Because like they
Hey,
might
maybe that's
just
the name of the last game. Recover.
recovery, yeah.
Yeah, recovery. I could see that. Yeah. Or recover. Yeah. I'm just dying to see like the Northern Crater stuff is going to be so good. Like
I
in
really
this engine is
cannot
going to look
wait to see.
amazing.
You know what I'm actually looking forward to the most?
Hmm.
The meteor going through all of the fucking planets. I want to see that.
Oh
so
yes,
bad.
Supernova.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah,
want
yeah.
to see it. I'm almost worried Supernova is going to be like a time thing that you have to stop him from doing. Like, because I think in Remake they did that, didn't they? Because like I don't know if it was just meteor. If it
7
was
seconds till the end
7
thing.
seconds
Yeah.
to the end.
No, not him saying that. Like in the fight, he has a timer that you need to beat him before he casts it, or he just
I don't-
kills you.
Oh yeah, it's
think
like an 8.
He does.
I think
he
it's
does.
like an 8
Is there?
second timer or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just can't remember what it was called. Because I'm curious if they're gonna do that with Supernova, or like will you be fighting him? he'll cast it, and then like you'll maybe if it's the timer, you just see it moving in the background or something. Like I'm just curious how they're gonna actually play that out.
And we have to actually watch a 5-minute cutscene during this fight every time.
There you go.
Happens.
Also,
I mean,
okay, I was supposed to 5-minute cutscene. Nice of the round.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
How
gonna be
long are they
sick,
gonna
man.
make that?
Oh,
I really
my
do
God.
think that it's gonna get extremely nerfed in Rebirth compared to OG. OG was like, if you really built correctly, like you could get Knights of the Round off like 3 or 4 times in a
Yeah,
fight.
there's like a 4-time summon material or
Yeah.
something. I wonder if some of that stuff's like not the 4-time summon, but like since okay, so
like
Aerith,
that island that has the materia.
yeah,
the
that
special materia.
that the like master materia stuff. Since Aerith isn't in the party, you can't double cast spells. So will they give us double cast materia now? Like that kind of stuff.
I could see that happening.
Yeah, it is funny thinking about how long they are going to make the Knights of the Round one when it was always notoriously long in the first game. Too.
I'm pretty sure Meteor is or Supernova is longer.
Oh man,
Yeah, Supernova is really long. Honestly, I wasn't thinking about it, but Knights of the Round as like the Gilgamesh style boss makes a lot of sense because then you can have like a
it's gonna
long
be
boss fight where
fire,
you
man.
fight each of the knights
Yep.
kind of thing. That would be so.
I mean,
sick.
yeah, finding like a proto relic for each knight would make sense.
Yeah.
And it would make sense that Chadley would look into something like that.
For sure, for sure.
Speaking of Chadley, do you think there's going to be some weird Shinra thing with him?
I think
What do you
okay
mean?
because they hinted at that in it was a proto relic mission, right? It was one of the last
Yes.
ones where
Yes.
Hojo realized what Chadley's doing, and he had like a clone of him on the table. He was messing with it, but you saw
yes.
Chadley like flinch because of it. So I think they're definitely
Yeah.
doing something there.
And people think Chadley's already a robot, kind of, because of the, like...
Well, he's an
the,
android.
the
He
joint.
is, yeah, for sure.
Is he? I thought he was
Yeah.
a robot.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I
no,
thought
no.
was
No,
already
he-
a-
he
like,
straight
that
up says-
That's
yeah.
like confirmed in remake.
Yeah, he
He's
straight
like,
up says he's an
I'm not-
android.
Yeah,
Damn,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I missed that then.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Yeah,
maybe
he is
we'll
most
look at some
definitely a robot.
Shinra lore.
One thing
Well, I think he's
I think
he's,
a theory
he's
I
an
heard.
android or whatever in the same way Kate Sith is, right? Like you know how like Reese is in his office like adjusting Kate Sith at that one point in this game.
Yeah.
When you see that little
Maybe
cutscene
that's something
and
they'll actually
reveal-
explain is why does Reese have the ability
Yeah.
to just bring inanimate objects to life?
I don't know.
It's just a thing that just happens.
Well, they're
I don't-
robots. I, mean,
I
you
don't
know.
think that needs to be explained. I think
No, like
that's
Kate
just a
Sith
thing that-
specifically is like a doll.
I
The
know, but
Moogle is a
I'm just
robot.
saying-
No, I mean for Roger.
I'm just saying, I don't think it needs to be explained why Reeve can just animate things like that. I don't think it's really
But
necessary.
he's a doll, but it's a doll that interacts. He's like a Teddy Ruxpin. He interacts with the
no,
robot.
imagine him like using VR chat to control like the doll. That's how I always viewed it.
Right. Yeah, that's
He's got
totally
all
how I
of the
view it.
things
too.
on his wrists and his ankles, and that's what he's doing.
Right.
And he's actually saying meow like at the computer, like that's
Which is hysterical.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, that's the
Clear.
other thing that like when I was looking, I saw before Rebirth came out. I was looking at a video for Kate Sith, and like there's a theory that the dolls themselves have their own personalities, and it's not like it's like Reeve can like he basically brings them to life and influences what they do, but the doll has its own memories and emotions. Like I think it's in Advent Children, because this is technically Kate Sith doll like 2 or 3 is the one that we have.
One that
in
rides
this
on the
game.
back of Red.
Yeah, and then in not Adventure, Dirge of Cerberus, that Kate Sith doll also gets like Nero claims it. Then he has another one, but he instills all the memories of the last one in it. So it's like that's the kind of thing I want. I want them to explain how Kate Sith works because they're going out of their way to do some of these things, and like that's just an open question people have had for a long time.
maybe
It's
it'll
like,
maybe it'll be like some side quest thing where like
Maybe.
it's explained through dialogue while you're getting to a certain
Yeah,
destination.
because now I'm thinking about it, like that whole sequence in the temple towards the ending where Kate Sith is saving their lives and like holding the thing up. I just imagine him like in his office holding stuff up, doing squats, pretending to hold off the temple from crashing. Like, oh, that's funny.
Another thing that I think is going to happen that I think we really barely talked about, I think the Gina Talk is going to be a big boss fight.
oh yeah, the
in-
Gi
in
might
Saturday.
come back for
100%
vengeance.
they're gonna
Because
Yeah.
you're going to totally betray them with the black materia,
Of
and they're going to
course,
be like, what the fuck, man? We
What did you
made a
do?"
promise.
Of course, of course.
I really liked the way they played that out because like when it was happening and everyone's like, yeah, we'll help you guys. It makes sense. And Cloud's like, yeah, we're not helping them. And I'm like
Yeah.
thinking like, no one's gonna say anything to stop him.
Yuffie's like, we're lying to him, right? Because she wants the materia
Right.
for
Yeah, she
herself.
wants to steal it. Yeah, with
Right,
her, she
right,
makes
right.
sense. But like Cloud was like very immediately, yep, we're not helping him because it's
Yeah.
very obvious. Like it's Sephiroth telling him to bring it to him, No one else
Yeah,
questions that. But then when you're going through the temple and they show you, oh yeah, this is Meteor, by the way, and it's like they wanted this to destroy the entire planet, and it's like, oh shit, never mind, let's not help them. That's kind of
Dude, that whole sequence where the Gi are telling you like the lore of the planet with the giant soldiers and like the giant Gi attacking, and they're all the holograms on the inside of the cave was so sick. I love that whole sequence.
It did section so much better compared to the OG. Like
It really
OG
did.
The OG section was very. I did not like that cave you had to walk through and traverse, and then
Yep.
like the boss is cool, but I can't Phoenix down it, man. Just let me Phoenix down it. That's one thing I'm missing is like there's cool little gimmicks that you can do in combat that you
One-off kills and things.
you don't really get too much.
I
out of
felt
it.
like I felt that with the synergy Comet, because I felt like if this was like made now, they wouldn't let you do that because Comet is so strong. But they still just let you just toss it in there, or that, or like the HP MP swap if you want to. That's such a
That
Yeah.
is nuts.
90s
Yeah,
thing.
when I unlocked that.
I was planning on doing hard mode with HP MP swap, but I don't think it's gonna be possible.
No
I
way.
think you can, no, because like if you use Barrett with
No, I'm saying I don't think it'll be possible for me. Like I
Oh.
don't think I'll be able to physically do it myself.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm gonna run out of patience to do that, especially when you get to what's that
Demon
God.
Door?
No. It's after Junon, in Corel. Damn, what's that thing called?
After Junon
is
and
it
Corel.
the Valkyrie? The Valkyrie that's like flying in the air.
I think that's what.
Yeah, it's like
the-
Valkyrie
the
Mark
bird?
II. That
The
one.
bird thing?
No,
Yes,
it's like
that's
the
it, yes.
the bird.
The little the wait, is it Corel? You know the ship, or not the ship? It's like a mech thing.
Yeah, the Valkyrie Mark II and
Okay,
Coral
then
Mountain.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mount Corel. Yeah.
Okay.
because that thing's just like shooting you, and you like don't even recognize it. And if
That's
you're
what-
gonna have like
Oh, yeah,
50
you
HP,
can,
then you're just dead.
Yeah, Barrett's not there then, because I thought Barrett with like
Can't
I
you
keep
just like
forgetting the
Thunderga?
name
Like
would
if
do
you
it.
have unlimited MP at that point, you could just like cast Thunderga and obliterate that thing in a couple attacks.
You just have to hope it never targets whoever
I
has
guess-
it, because they would just.
I
die.
see what I see what you mean, McDareth. So you have Barrett with his normal HP, and he just uses lifesavers, so he takes the damage that the MP
Yeah.
HP swap character would ordinarily
Right.
take, and they're just
Right.
spamming spells.
And
And
you're just
that's
keeping
why Barrett's the
Barrett
goat.
alive. That
There
was
you
like
go.
I saw that, thought that might work, but I never went and tested it.
I like the enemies in the Gi the Gi enemies in the cave where you could use. I'm pretty sure it's them.
like
you
the,
could use like
the
cure.
archers stuff.
Yeah,
You
can
could
cure
use
them.
Yeah,
cure
yeah,
against them to damage them. I like
Yep,
that.
that
I
was
always
cool.
like that kind of stuff.
Very cool. Dude, there's just so many good boss fights in this game. Even like so many of the regular enemies are just so much fun to fight. The-
Also, I
the
finally thought
combo is
of
incredible.
an actual fight. I think is the worst. The Kate Sis solo yin yang.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
that,
really
that
didn't
entire
like that
section
fight.
sucked ass.
I
but
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
You know how I
actually
beat
pretty
that, by
cool.
the way? I
Hmm.
beat that by using Kate Sith's self-destruct thing, where you self-destruct the doll.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
So
yeah.
I self-destructed, but Kate Sith has that little folio where if he dies, you can live with 1 HP. So I beat it by self-destructing and living with 1 HP.
That's funny. What a good game. Any other last minute thoughts before we wrap this sucker up? We've been going for a while.
Definitely
I
amazing.
will say that having not played any Final Fantasy VII related game, consuming any FF7 related content for over, what would it be? 20,
3 decades.
25 years?
Yeah.
Starting it earlier this year was one of the best decisions I've ever done with my entire life. Like, I am so happy that I was able to experience it, like, fully, even though, like, I did get spoiled on the Aerith stuff.
Of course.
And some small things. Like, I played through it before, but I never really went through the entire thing. I doubt anyone watching this is going to be in this situation, but play FF7. It is really good.
You mean the original
Really
game?
good.
Yeah, for sure.
Just literally anything with FF7. I think
Yeah.
it like It is written very well.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think with this game specifically, even, I mean, Remake, yes, you see it and you get it, but like Remake was kind of like the stepping stones, them seeing what they can do. I think this game is just such a love letter, and it's very obvious these people love these characters.
Yeah.
They love this world with everything they do, that like the whole game just exudes it, and it's so awesome.
You know what happened? Before I even played this game, I was like, I don't get the hype of Sephiroth. Like, I understand he's like a super massive being and like
He's
incredibly
hot. What do you
powerful and
mean?
shit like that.
That's why people like him.
He's
Well,
that guy.
But yeah, like after playing the game,
him.
I was like, okay, I now
get it.
recognize why people like this guy so much,
Sure,
and I am a
sure.
part of that club now. Sephiroth is that guy.
Yeah, retroactively it
He
makes the
did.
people
He
who
did
didn't-
go on QAnon and read some Reddit articles, and lost his mind.
Yeah, it lost his mind. Some theories, yeah.
But he's still
Yeah.
the goat.
He is a goat. Yeah. There's a reason he's up there with, Bowser and Dr.
I'm gonna be
Eggman,
real.
like,
No.
one of the best
I
villains.
think Sephiroth is in his own tier. I think that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best video game villains.
He is a
I-
deep character.
He is quite possibly one of the reasons why I don't ever want them to make another Smash game if it's not building off Ultimate. Because if they don't bring Sephiroth back in Smash Brothers, I'm going to be mad. I can't go through another Smash cycle and another Smash game without Sephiroth now. Now that I've experienced it and he actually plays really well and he's fun
He's
and I've
dog shit.
experienced Rebirth, he's fun. What are you talking about?
He's like one of the
The-
lowest.
Doesn't matter. I don't
No,
give
no,
a shit
no,
about
no, no,
tiers.
no,
I'm not
he's
saying I don't
decent,
care
but,
about
like,
tiers. I don't care
the
about
thing
tiers.
is-
I'm saying in
the-
terms
the-
of
the thing
way
is,
that he
right?
plays, he's fun, and I don't want to experience a Smash game without him in it ever again. Full stop.
Yeah.
I will say
I
he's
love-
not,
I love
he's
playing
not
as-
garbage also.
I love
thought he
playing
was,
as
like,
Sephiroth in
low
Ultimate,
tier.
but like, you look at Sephiroth in this game, and it's
Yes.
like night and day, the
Oh,
disparity
yes.
in
Yeah.
power.
Yeah.
Like, this game, Sephiroth can just do whatever he wants, but
Because they
obviously you
gotta
can't.
nerf that man in Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't have him firing off comets and doing long range whisper attacks that take up the entire screen, spinning around like a rotation device.
Stabbing, literally stabbing
Yeah.
people,
Yeah,
summoning like soul tornadoes and stuff like that. Like,
Oh, I also
Oh,
love
man.
that he has like one of his like you have to dodge his attacks is literally the stab from Advent Children.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man. So good. What a great game. All right, well, that will wrap up our spoiler discussion for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Thank you to McDareth, Coast, and Viram for joining me. Obviously, a lovely discussion that we had. If you want more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth content from any of us, all of us did live streams of the game. You could check out all of our individual Twitch channels. You could check our YouTube channels out for uploads of our reactions to major moments, what we thought the first time we played through it. Obviously, you're hearing our overall thoughts now, but they could have differed from when we first played it. And yeah, make sure to tune in to the next episode of Japan Time. And if you're not already, subscribe to the Japan Time channel. Make sure you're subscribed to it. And we will catch you guys later. 7 seconds until the end, everybody. Good night.